Welcome, finally, to LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White. I'm glad to be here in one piece.
Yeah, exactly. We have been trying to start the show for quite some time now, ever since 7 o'clock, but we were running across some YouTube server problems.
We got the 500 error.
Yeah. And
that's the first time we ever got that error.
Yeah, nothing we can do about that either.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it either.
Right. Yeah, it just we can't get into the creator studio. We can't do anything.
You can watch our own videos.
Yeah,
but we can't get into like the channel as the user.
Right. Yeah.
Or edit the channel as a user.
I'm wondering. See, we have the settings on private, and it seems like when we started it, it took video, but I'm not sure if
that wouldn't matter. Yeah. That wouldn't create the 500 error. That's a server error. That's on YouTube's end.
That's true.
So I mean, and actually that was the second thing we had to deal with. The first thing was dude right outside the window cutting the grass and doing his hedges.
Right.
And then he had a weed whacker.
Didn't it seem to coincide with this whole thing? When that stopped, this started back?
It started back.
Conspiracy,
dog.
But anyway, I'm just going to send a tweet on, tweet because we were trying to...
Yeah, we've been trying to get up on here for 30 straight minutes,
Yeah, man. I've never seen this.
It just random. And I just, we were about to give up. And then... we just randomly clicked on the live stream option and it worked just like that. So
yeah, because doing this through Facebook was
we were considering doing it through Facebook,
that's not an option. We'd have like 5 people all show.
Yeah, Facebook doesn't really send our notifications out, so
no, that would have been horrible. And see, I haven't seen not one person in the chat say anything.
That's weird too. That's weird as well, that we have people watching, but nobody's saying anything, which is not typical. So we'll refresh.
Yeah.
So
we see that people are in here with us, but I don't see any chat or anything like that.
Maybe there's an issue with YouTube loading. Okay.
All right,
there
here we go.
Okay, there we go. We got one at least.
All right. Yeah, that was pretty whack, man.
That was pretty frustrating, man.
That was pretty frustrating.
Because it was right when we were supposed to start.
Yeah.
How much you want to bet we would have been able to live stream, like, even if the servers were going through, like, issues, if we would have hit live stream before they experienced those issues?
Probably so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no reason to, though. I mean, like about an hour ago, it was working fine. Anyway, all right, let's just be done with that. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Glad y'all joining us on this Thursday. Feels like a Tuesday because we missed Tuesday.
Yeah, we missed the whole week, or we missed the last show. Both of us weren't really feeling that well.
Yeah, I was like 30%. I was straight 30%. I just, man, headache.
Yeah, I had a toothache, so I did have a headache because of that toothache. So. like I said, it looks like we're pretty good now. Yeah, it seems to be fine. I think, is the audio fine? Is the video fine? We're just gonna assume that it is until somebody says that it is not. But again, glad to be here. We have much to go over today. Many things that we wanted to address on Tuesday's show that are actually absolutely still relevant. So we're gonna get started with Hurricane Florence, just to address it. So it came through the weekend, came here. I don't think much of it was felt in South Carolina. I mean, there was a lot of rain. There was some wind, of course, but I guess the brunt of it was in North Carolina, and there was a lot of flooding. There's still flooding in North Carolina right now. School is out in a lot of communities. I believe there are some communities that won't be able to be accessed by. Let me say, like, they will only be accessed by boat until I think maybe tomorrow or in the weekend or something like that.
Yeah, I think the damage that they estimated was accurate. It's just that the area in which they estimated was not accurate.
Right.
All the areas they suspected would get damaged didn't get damaged, but the areas that did get damaged,
yeah, they got hit.
They got hit really hard.
Right.
I know our area. We got downgraded constantly.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, we got downgraded because the hurricane got downgraded.
Right.
But
when it hit, it was actually a Category 1 when it actually hit.
So we were under a tropical storm
right.
warning, but we didn't really get any rain until 3 a.m. Saturday morning.
Yeah.
That's when we started getting rain. It was just drizzle, and it actually didn't even rain all Saturday.
No, it didn't.
And so
yeah. Yeah, like I said, yeah, it wasn't really that bad here, but I said, we've seen some of the footage up in North Carolina and
even on the coast where my family lives in Charleston.
Didn't get really anything.
They didn't get that bad. They got rain, but they didn't get anything that North Carolina got. Even in Myrtle Beach, which is north of Charleston,
right.
which is closer to the border, closer to North Carolina, they didn't really get that much either.
I know they're in New Bern, North Carolina. That was a site of focus, and there was a lot of damage there, trees blowing down, rain, flooding. As it is right now, I believe at least 19 people were killed. So it was definitely a horrible storm. 19 people losing their lives. So I'm not sure if anybody still has no electricity. I can only imagine there's probably some homes that still do
officially
not.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that yet. But I know it was over when the storm was first hitting. It was over 1 million people that didn't have electricity. So I'm sure they're still trying to rectify some problems. The recovery process is on the way, but definitely could have been worse. I'm glad it wasn't worse, but it was still, like I said, it was still a very powerful storm, and people are still going through the damage. Still people being affected by it. So when things like this happen, of course you want to hear from your leaders, and Donald Trump was actually in North Carolina yesterday.
Yeah,
right?
I saw the footage. Didn't he give a little boy a hug?
Yeah, he did give a little boy
a hug. He stepped up to the plate.
He provided a hug.
He provided a hug.
Right, some comfort, some aid and comfort.
Yeah, hey, the bar is lowered, so I got to give him credit for at least. I guess seizing that moment.
Right. I saw him delivering some food. He was holding the cartons of food and passing them to passerbyers.
You see how easy it is to make yourself look like a human being? Why can't he do that all the damn time? It's very simple.
He also there was one man that he was talking to, and I guess he was at his home. Yeah, he was at his home, and there was a boat that was right near his home. And it had washed right. I mean, it had been pushed to his home, and he was asking him if that was his boat. It was like a yacht, and the man was like, "No, it's not. It's not my boat." And Trump said, "At least you got a nice boat out of the deal."
That's funny. I'm in a good mood today. Okay, I'm in a good mood. I mean, I've already established that the bar has been lowered for him.
We're talking about like massive flooding.
No, look.
Like much damage. People have to evacuate their homes. Dealing with loss.
He's trying to create some sort of humor in a situation where there's been a lot of disaster. Well,
because that's the best time to do so. All right. Bar lowered.
I'm speaking as if the bar. Oh, I'm sorry, not as if the bar has been lowered. I'm speaking because the bar has been lowered. I'm speaking like that because the bar has been lowered. So, how much credit I give is going to be a reflection of how low that bar is.
He also had some words, I believe, before he went on the trip to come to North Carolina and the Carolinas areas. And he taped these words. They were video, and he put it on Twitter. This is what he had to say.
I just want to thank all of the incredible men and women who have done such a great job in helping with Florence. This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Yo, you know what? I'm glad he clarified that, man, because what I was thinking about initially was like Hurricane Florence had like a wet jump shot, you know what I'm saying? It was draining threes and stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's what I was thinking, but he said from the standpoint of water. So that makes it more clear to me.
Well, maybe
like a wet, he's just draining them from back here, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe he has to clarify. Maybe he has to clarify because
standpoint of water.
Well, see, you don't know what's going on in his mind. Maybe he has to clarify because he's thinking of wetness in regard to something else. You know what I'm saying? Because there's that tape that might be out there. So when he thinks of wetness, in his mind, it doesn't always mean water.
So he's getting confused in his own head.
He's getting confused in his own head. He's trying to line it, just outline it for us. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad he clarified.
Could be talking about like, you know what I'm saying?
Like I said, I was thinking about.
Could be talking about something
Hurricane
else.
Florence had this basket, like this man, like, you know what I'm saying, was able to cross somebody over or something like that and pull up from rain. You know, that's what I thought, man. Water, it's the wettest storm. The wettest.
You know, I think it's like, it wouldn't have like been so bad if he didn't try to clarify. You see what I'm saying? I don't think it's a problem that he doesn't have like a very expansive vocabulary. I think what he tries to do is he tries to like add on to it, and give explanation to it.
Much.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I mean, to be honest, like, I think the average president's like vocabulary is like on like an 8th grade level. It's on an 8th grade level. I think they studied Trump's words and his syntax and all that, and determined that it was on a 4th grade level.
Oh, I thought it was 3rd grade.
It might be, but I think you could work with that.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have to do much.
Right,
you can still work with that. So I think if he would just like, I guess just be easy with it and not try to do extra, he'd be fine. If he just said it was the wettest, I'd have been like, okay. Do you see what I'm saying? If he would have just said it was the wettest.
It's a weird way of describing it, but
it's a weird way of describing it, but I've been like, okay, yeah. There's really nothing to say. But then you say from the standpoint of water, you're like, yo, you didn't really have to explain that, bro. So again, he would be good if he didn't, like, you know what I'm saying, if he didn't take it too far. It just feels like he doesn't even know how to win, like, in anything. Like,
I agree.
I think he could if he really, really, really wanted to. I think he just tries too hard.
I don't know if that's trying. I don't know if that's trying.
Like, it's like we already know he ain't doing nothing, so he doesn't have to do much. That's the sad part. So he doesn't have to do much to make it look like he's winning, because all he has to do is be like rhetorically good enough to like be believable. That's all he has to do.
A lot of people like to ad lib, you know.
Right.
A lot of people like to ad lib, but see, there's a point where you go too far. Like, hook up in the chat saying he was talking about Hurricane Maria. He said a lot of water, big water, ocean water. It's like, water. Why do you have to go that far? You know, now you sound much stupider than you actually are. I don't know.
It's like he freestyling.
Yeah.
He's freestyling.
Yeah.
He's not really good at it.
Yeah, there's a point where you have to stop, and he doesn't know where that line is. Anyway, those are the words of your president. All right, so where do you want to go to first?
DeSantis or
no, let's go to
you want to go to
yeah, let's go to
what about
Ford.
some things that we didn't cover Tuesday?
Yeah, let's talk about Botham Jean.
Yeah, because that's kind of the
all right. So Botham Jean is the 26-year-old black male that was killed by Officer Amber Gaillard in Dallas, Texas. Recently, he was killed inside his own home, his own apartment, and this supposedly happened because Officer Gaillard had entered his apartment thinking that it was her own apartment and mistook him for an intruder, and shot him multiple times. Shot him or shot at him multiple times. I believe only one of them hit him in the torso. Ended up killing him. Of course, there's been a lot of conversation on this issue. On the day of Botham Jean's funeral, there were several media outlets that had reported marijuana had been found inside the home of Botham Jean. This search was conducted by the Dallas Police Department on the night that Officer Gaillard had fatally shot Botham Jean. So there have been multiple search warrants for this case, but this particular search warrant specifically targeted fired cartridge casings, fired projectiles, firearms, ballistic vests, keys, evidence of blood, video surveillance systems, and contraband such as narcotics and other items used in criminal offenses. So this had just happened, or we just found out about this after the last broadcast that we did. Mm-hmm. On Thursday night, we saw the reports. We saw the notification saying that marijuana had been found inside his apartment. And really, we struggled to kind of find the words of what to say. We were just looking at each other.
Well, we were looking at each other with it was a weird, confusing, calm sense of rage.
Yes.
Because we were both looking at each other I know these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Because I was about to walk out. I was about to walk out the door.
That's right. Yeah.
I was about to walk out the door, and then you brought it. You pulled it up.
Yep.
And I probably stayed about a half hour more because I was just trying to just trying to make sense of it.
Yeah. And so I look, the search yielded certain things, okay? And so if you run through the list, it produced two fired cartridge casings, one laptop computer, one black backpack with police equipment and paperwork, one insulated lunchbox, one black ballistic vest with police markings, 10.4 grams of marijuana in Ziploc bags, one metal marijuana grinder, two RFID keys, two used packages of medical aid. So when I'm thinking of all the things that were found, okay, because like I said, it specifically was targeting certain things, and that's how search warrants are always obtained. You know, I mean, they can't be so broad. They have to specifically look for certain things.
I feel a butt coming.
But why the need to search for any type of drug-related products or material or anything like that? Why the need to search for marijuana as if that means something in this investigation?
And again, if you're searching for something specific, that means you're looking for it because it's going to aid you in this specific case.
Exactly.
And a couple of the items that you kind of noted in that list was a ballistic vest and a first aid kit or something.
That's right.
Maybe Botham Jean had a first aid kit, but a ballistic vest, that seems like something that she would leave.
Yes, a lot of this stuff seems like stuff that she left in his apartment.
How did it get in there?
Well, she did enter. Well, according to her own words, after she shot Botham Jean, before turning off the lights, she went into the home and started performing life-saving tactics on Botham Jean. Then called the police. Then turned on the lights. So I guess one can assume it's possible that when she went inside the place, she brought her stuff in when she was holding a gun. I don't know.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, so she was holding all that stuff. She dropped all that stuff and then, unholstered her gun and then shot. Yeah. There was something else that I heard that was present at the scene, and that was a bowl of cereal. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. I heard there was a bowl of cereal. Yeah. So, Mr. Botham Jean must have been eating cereal in the dark. I mean, if people want to do that, that's their business. Yeah. But that seems highly unlikely.
It's possible he just left it out.
But like you said, it's also highly unlikely that, she brought all these items in while at the same time being able to give him orders and then pull out a gun and shoot him. It just seems like there's too many things that have to happen for it to be such a bang bang thing like she's making it out to be.
Right. I mean, the only way that this seems likely, all those possessions found inside his apartment, seems that after she shot him, she brought the stuff in. But why would she do that? That would seem that would be more likely, right?
And the first thing, I thought of when they said they found marijuana is that Dave Chappelle's stand-up. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like, how come they, always find crack on a dead man's body? You sprinkle some crack on him. Right. And I thought that was really convenient. And like, what are the chances that she planted that herself? And guess what? Even if she didn't, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. This was done to smear the name of Botham Jean. This was done to poison the jury pool. If it does get to a jury trial, this is done to really assault the character, assault the reputation of Botham Jean before Officer Gaillard can be actually judged from her peers or by her peers. I mean, this is disgusting. This is a disgusting tactic. This has been done before, of course. This is not anything that's uncommon. But again, like when I'm first hearing this, I'm thinking there are other things that were probably found inside the apartment as well. Dust was probably all over the apartment. Pillowcases. There could have been bars of soap or maybe liquid bottles of soap. There could have been some ceiling fans, some shower rods, curtains, possibly blinds,
scissors.
I mean, there could have been all of these things.
He could have had like a container full of sporks.
Yeah. But what does that do to aid the investigation? How does that push the investigation forward? Again, this was done on the night. This search warrant was obtained on the night of Botham Jean's killing. So how does that help the investigation go forward?
And he was the victim.
Exactly. Botham Jean could have been drunk off his ass inside of his own house. He could have been high on crack. He could have been doing anything inside his own apartment. That doesn't mean that Officer Gaillard had the right to unlawfully enter his apartment and shoot him dead. This is disgusting, man.
And what's most interesting is, why wasn't an invasive search warrant issued on her apartment? She's the one who did the shooting.
No evidence that was done. We don't, and now we can't say that it wasn't done, but like I said before, there have been multiple search warrants that have been signed by judges. Only 2 warrants or actually there's only the arrest affidavit that we know about, and then we know about this warrant as well, the details of this warrant. Oh. How come the other ones remained unsealed? Exactly. But this one was... So... I mean, the other ones remained sealed. This one was unsealed.
This particular warrant and the results of it were mysteriously unsealed while the other ones were not.
Exactly.
So now, to me, that looks like a conceited and a controlled effort by a conglomerate of folks. You know what I'm saying? Not just the Dallas Police Department, not just the Texas Ranger Division. Now it just seems like the court is getting involved in kind of setting the stage and tone for this particular case before it goes forward.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what it looks like to me. It's not just because we have to note that, again, Officer Gaillard is an officer within the Dallas Police Department. Now, they were investigating at first, which they shouldn't have been in the first place because it concerned their own officer. They should have been off the case immediately, but they weren't. So they were able to obtain this search warrant. They were able to actually search through the home of Botham Jean, and then it was taken over by the Texas Rangers. But for me, like the entirety of the Dallas Police Department can kiss my ass. That's how I feel. I don't regularly subscribe to the thought of, like, F the police, all police are bad, all police are corrupt, I can't stand police in general. But the Dallas police force, the entirety of it, can kiss my ass. But not just them. Just like that condemnation, those feelings, like those harsh feelings, the hostility that I feel towards them, it's not just towards them, it's towards the media as well. The media organizations that actually ran these stories, how come they didn't highlight the other items in the headline? That's what I mean, in the headline of the story. Why was it so important to inform your readers that inside Botham Jean's house there was marijuana found?
Clicks. First is clicks. It's irresponsible clicks. There's no way, like as a reporter, as a journalist, or as anyone who works for a news network, not just a human being, there's no way that you don't know what you're doing when you do that. There is absolutely no way.
There's no way you don't know that it has nothing to do with the case. There's no way you don't know that. All you're doing is helping to smear this man's name. And you know you're doing it. Which means that you are a horrible excuse of a human being. Whoever made these decisions.
Like, I'm kind of in the same position as you, I guess, concerning the Dallas Police Department and the way they've handled this and the way they've gone about it. I don't expect any officers to come forward and offer any kind of opinion. But I think that's the point of our frustration. Anytime something like this happens, it presents an opportunity for good cops to set themselves aside in the moment. To me, it won't matter when the trial ends.
No.
It won't matter. I won't give a fuck what they have to say after the trial is over. It's if they're not stepping up in the heat of the moment, it doesn't matter to me. So that's why I understand the position you're taking when it comes to the entire department. Because who has to speak for this man? Who? His family, us, his supporters,
right?
Sean King, Lee Merritt, his attorneys. Those are the people that have to step in and speak up for him. In an ideal society, our civil servants and the people that are, employed and tasked to, I guess, look out for the best interest of us, protect and serve, you would expect them as individuals to stand up for citizens when something like this happens and not kind of erect this blue wall of silence, because it's not about the blue wall. It's not about them. Their main and primary job is to protect the citizens, not the reputations or the lives of their coworkers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The goal is justice here.
It's funny how it's like they're in a catch-22, but they put themselves there.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You know where I'm about to go.
Yeah.
Because like all we hear is like it's wrong to say fuck the police. Something I don't say. All policemen aren't the same. Like we go through this and we go through that. We're not the same. It's wrong. Don't lump us in with other cops that are bad. You know what I'm saying? We're all individuals. But as soon as one individual cop gets in trouble or gets caught up in something like this situation, they stick together.
And they try to provide cover. For that officer who is obviously in the wrong. It doesn't matter if you believe her story or not. She obviously was wrong in shooting a man inside his own apartment. So the need that they're feeling to provide support and cover for her
proves our point.
Exactly. They should have been nowhere near this investigation from the outset of it, but they put themselves in a position to take the reins. It's like, you didn't understand that there was a conflict here, or did you understand? You know what I'm saying? It's like, who better than to provide cover for one of our own officers?
Yes, because like, if it's some random guy off the street that's committing crime, who are the first people to talk to the media about what went down?
It would be law enforcement.
Yes. That's usually the source of most stories involving some sort of criminal activity. They give detailed statements. Multiple officers give detailed statements about what went down. And media outlets have all the information if it's a regular person, right?
Yeah. So
if like there is like if there is separation between officers, whether good and bad, then how come there is no separation when situations like this happen?
Because they can't separate themselves.
So again, they create the situation that we talked about. Again, I'm not a type of person that ascribes to the whole fuck the police thing. I just don't do that. That's not me. But I can understand why some people do. It's one of those situations where I say, not me, but I can understand.
You understand exactly.
I can understand why. Because anytime something goes down, they all stick together. So what are people to think? What are people supposed to think when they take that position, when they lock arms, regardless of the actions of one of their fellow officers?
Exactly. Lee Merritt, who is an attorney for the family, he said, I think it's unfortunate that law enforcement began to immediately criminalize the victim. In this case, someone who was clearly was the victim, that has absolutely no bearing on the fact that he was shot in his home. I would love to see more information coming out about the warrant executed on the home of the shooter who lived just below him. I haven't seen any of those, and particularly for it to be on this day, the day that we remember and celebrate him, to see the common assassination attempt on the victim that we often see in law enforcement involved shootings. So this has spurred a lot of protests. Just the shooting in general has spurred protests because there was preferential treatment. She was allowed to remain free for a period of 3 days. She wasn't arrested. Then she was allowed to turn herself into a neighboring county, Kaufman County, and then she was bonded out within an hour.
Ooh, she did a bond walkthrough.
Yeah, exactly. It was very quick.
So like a lot of lawyers and police officials have kind of chimed in on this, and they were asked. I just went on multiple websites just to hear what they had to say, and all had the same thing to say. She wasn't given preferential treatment, and I'm like, really? Like, since when is a civilian allowed to just get a bond hearing just like that, and just post a bond and then walk out like in a few hours? That does not happen. And
also there have been reports that she was allowed to even walk through the scene too. I mean, after her own police department showed up on the scene to investigate, she's still there. You're not a police officer in that vein. You are a suspect. You're the one that pulled the trigger. You should have no access to the crime scene at all. But there you are, walking back and forth with your buddies. No preferential treatment though. So anyway, like I said, there have been a lot of protests. There was one protest on Sunday that received a lot of attention. This happened in Dallas. This was outside of AT&T Arena, or AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play. And there were about 75 marchers, I believe, that were marching through the streets. And they were carrying two caskets, and it was symbolizing Botham Jean's murder. It was also symbolizing O'Shea Terry's murder as well. And we showed that video. I believe that was last week as well. It was just a couple of days before Botham Jean had been killed. So they were definitely obstructing traffic. They were peacefully protesting, but they did want to convey a message that this is not to be had. We're not going to be a part of this. Something needs to be done. Okay. And like I said, just the killing itself spurred protests, but the way that the information about the marijuana came out too, of course people are going to have many negative feelings about that, many negative feelings towards the Dallas Police Department and the media, just that city in general, because we know that the DA in Dallas, Faith Johnson, we know that she has said that, hey, murder's not off the table, but we're going to we do our due diligence. There's not a timetable before we present charges to the grand jury, but we haven't seen anything yet. Now, I'm not going to say at this point we shouldn't have something. We don't know how much they have to go through.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just the feeling of like, man, something needs to happen. We see the effort to provide cover for her, so people are feeling a little weary of what's going to happen. Is she actually going to be charged with anything? Is she going to be charged with murder? So that's what spurred these protests. And 9 of these people now, they were arrested. And they were referred to as the Dallas 9. 9 of them were arrested, and they didn't receive preferential treatment. They stayed in jail for 2 nights before they were released.
And kind of what were their charges?
Yeah, it was just about like obstructing traffic,
obstructing
right?
traffic, disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
Obstructing traffic.
Yeah, not harmful,
not murder, not murder or anything like that, right?
No, but they had to wait I believe it was over 2 days. I mean, because they went into the jail Sunday night.
Same city, right?
Same city.
Okay,
same city.
Okay.
They went into jail so the Sunday night, and then they stayed overnight, and then they stayed another night on Monday night, and then they were released on Tuesday morning.
So what you're saying is
no quick arraignment.
No quick arraignment. So the kind of idea that Amber Gaillard wasn't given preferential treatment doesn't make sense in the face of how these protests were treated for a very, 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 very small offense. Very small offense.
I'm glad you put like 18 different varies in there, because that's how small it was. But yeah, they had to actually spend the night in jail, spend 2 nights in jail because of their heinous crime.
I also noticed that Mrs. Gaillard has moved out of her apartment.
Yes, she did move out of her apartment, and the apartment complex did inform, I believe, all of its residents that she was no longer a resident there.
I think that was a very strategic move based on a very, I guess, obviously active survival instinct.
Right. Oh, yeah. No doubt. Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, if she would have stayed there, they would have had to have like 24/7, like some super trooper Secret Service guards there.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Because people would have showed up. Yeah. So they got her in some location.
But shoot, not even just for her though. I'm thinking about the other residents, because if it's true that she just mistakenly went into another home, what's the chances that she might do this again and shoot somebody else? If this actually happened the way she said it happened,
because
everybody's in jeopardy.
Everybody is in jeopardy. Everybody's life is in danger. And because she was on the 3rd floor. Mm-hmm. What if she makes a mistake and goes to the 2nd floor?
Can't be sure about
these things now.
Yeah. So,
dog. I mean, can she move anywhere? Can she move anywhere now? Maybe she should move to a complex where some of the units look a little different from each other.
Gotta have different color
wherever
doors.
She moves. And I wonder if people are going to recognize her where she chooses to move. Maybe she'll move into a house.
That's I was saying that she should be banned from apartment complexes.
She should be banned from apartment complexes.
Yeah, she should have a house, a standalone house, 1 family house.
And it should look like completely different from any other houses in the neighborhood.
Right.
Like I'm telling you, like neon pink,
splatter
green,
the driveway
with something.
Something like that. Yeah, like pave the front yard. Something to make it actually stand out, so she never makes this kind of mistake again, right? Please, we don't believe she made a mistake. I don't believe that whatsoever. Ted Cruz got into the conversation about this incident. So did Beto O'Rourke. These are the 2 that are going to be competing, battling to see who's going to be senator in the state of Texas. Of course, Ted Cruz is the incumbent, but Representative Beto O'Rourke is challenging him pretty good. According to polls, there's not much difference between the two, so this seems like this is going to be a toss-up matchup. But anyway, Beto O'Rourke, he was asked if Amber Geiger should be fired, and his response was, quote, "I don't understand, given the actions, how anyone can come to any other conclusion." So I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. There is no, I mean, I can't come up with any other conclusion whatsoever. She definitely should be fired, but she has not been fired yet. She should definitely be charged with murder. She hasn't been charged with murder yet.
Like, yes, she should at least be fired.
At least.
At the least be fired.
Very least.
Because she made a grave error in her uniform.
Right. And again, no matter how you view the situation, if you believe her story or not, she made, like you said, a grave error, and it was a miscalculation. It was an error in judgment. How could you have that with a badge and a gun? How can you have that within your police department?
I'm wondering, like, because, I guess what has been highlighted surrounding Amber Geiger's actions is a suggestion of her, I guess, mental dexterity as far as being tired.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She worked a 14 or 15-hour shift. It kept shifting between 14 and 15. Yeah. But let's just say it's 15. If she was so tired that she couldn't tell what floor she was on when she got home, wouldn't there be a concern that she was just as tired on her 13th hour of her shift or her 14th hour of her shift before she got home?
That would be reasonable.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anyway, Ted Cruz, though, he had a different feeling about this. He did not agree with Beto O'Rourke, and he stated to Fox 26 Houston, "I wish Beto O'Rourke and Democrats weren't so quick to always blame the police officer, always attack the police officer. She may have been in the wrong. She's facing legal proceedings, and if a jury of her peers concludes that she behaved wrongly, then she'll face the consequences. But I don't think we should jump to conclusions. It may have been just a horrific understanding with horrifying consequences." That's the, I must not have, there we go. So, again, this isn't uncommon. This isn't uncommon for somebody like Ted Cruz, the state. He's a Republican. He's somebody that always protects the interest of law enforcement. He backs them to no end. It's unconditional support. His statement is so offensive, though, because he says, if a jury of her peers concludes that she behaved wrongly. Is there any question that she behaved wrongly? Again, no matter if you believe her story or not, is there any question that she didn't act in the right way? Is there any question about that?
And like he is making the case that we can't talk about things, or leaders, politicians, representatives, or whoever, the media or Democrats or whatever. He is making this argument that, like, situations and circumstances cannot be discussed or talked about when they're in litigation, because that's what stage it's in right now. Yeah. Even though the trial hasn't started yet, it's in litigation, or once litigation moves forward, he's making this argument that no one could make any comments or have any opinions on. That's kind of what he's saying. And, like, there's a flip side to it. If, like, he wants to, tar and feather Democrats for always, jumping the gun in situations like this. And honestly, it's not like a whole host of Democrats jump to the defense of the victim. Oh. When situations when situations like this happen, right. I just don't see that. I don't see a lot of Democratic officials just jumping to the defense of someone like Alton Sterling or Philando Castile or Sandra Bland. You may have some here and there. There may be some Democrats that do, like, make statements and do, like, I guess, go out of their way to make media appearances about certain things, but like the Democratic Party as a whole, I don't think so. But the flip side of that is, what you just did and what Republicans typically do is that to unconditionally support law enforcement no matter what. So there's a flip side to him kind of castigating Democrats incorrectly, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
but Beto O'Rourke's statement wasn't even going over the edge. Again, all he responded to was a question about if she should be fired. He said yes. It doesn't matter if you believe her story or not. It doesn't matter if you don't think she shouldn't be held accountable criminally. It does not matter. Nobody can argue that she shot an innocent man. Nobody can argue that. Nobody can argue that she wasn't within her rights to shoot that man. Nobody can argue that she illegally entered somebody else's apartment. Nobody can argue these facts that we already know. So based on that information, why should this particular individual still have a spot as a police officer? That's senseless. You would, again, like you said, 15-hour shift. If they're going to use that as some sort of excuse for what, maybe her limitations at that time.
She was tired.
Well, then how would that, that's going to show up in another situation? This is not somebody you would want on your police force, right? This is just not somebody that you would want that has a badge and a gun.
If she made a mistake because she was tired.
If she made a mistake. If a jury of her peers concludes that she behaved wrongly.
If she really made a mistake, then that would bring into the question her fitness for working those long shifts, would it not? But that's only if she made a mistake, though, right? But we all know. Well, I don't want to say we all know, but it is highly likely that she didn't make a mistake. Quotes around the word mistake.
Yeah, I know. Petula Red is Botham Jean's cousin, and she wrote an open letter to the Dallas Cowboys urging them to take a knee because of what happened to her cousin. Within the letter, she said, for just a moment, I ask you to forget about race, forget about the stars and the stripes, and forget about the anthem, because all of these things, like borders, race, and nationality, are man-made constructs. Consider for one moment that none of these social constructs exist. For just this moment, I ask you to think only of the facts of the injustice perpetrated against another human being. A human being that could be you, your child, your family, or your friend. You and all these people are human beings just like Botham. Just for this moment, forget about the gun debate and the political strife and think about the grief of a parent. For just this moment, try to imagine the pain of losing a child. She concluded by saying, if you could only forget the rhetoric for one moment and stand up against injustice and violence by taking a knee for Botham Jean, it would be the easiest act and the loudest message. Take a knee for Botham to peacefully protest police brutality. Take a knee for Botham because his life is more valuable than cloth and words. Take a knee for Botham because his killer should not walk free. Take a knee for Botham because you object to senseless murders by the authorities. Take a knee for Botham because your flag and anthem should represent justice. Take a knee for Botham because you have the right to peaceful free speech. Take a knee for Botham because it is the right thing to do.
Yo, you know what I want to do after that? After you reading that, man? You know what when you had a poetry slam?
Right.
And they do
the
thing,
yeah.
man.
Right, yeah.
Because
it did read off like that.
I did not expect her to come with that, dude. I did not expect that.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know her.
Yeah.
I just didn't expect that. That's not something you kind of hear from a a family member, right, to kind of chime in like that. That's actual poetry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it kind of dealt with some, I guess, issues that we are currently dealing with right now, especially with people kind of drifting towards American symbolism and the flag and the anthem instead of actually dealing with the loss of human life, mm-hmm, and the loss of human life through the hands of law enforcement, through the hands of an individual that's supposed to serve and protect. As she said, or as she alluded to, why can't we just focus on that instead of getting bent out of shape about somebody kneeling or this kind of superficial flag worship? Right. And that just makes common sense. It's not even an appeal to emotion. It makes common sense.
Right. So did the Dallas Cowboys, did they take in this message and do the right thing? No, they did not.
Don't think
Silent. So. They were silent about this. I don't believe they provided a response or anything like that. It was complete ignoring of the issue. None of them. And now we know this is the Dallas Cowboys, and Jerry Jones' team does not kneel for the national anthem. You remember Stephen Jones, his son, said that if you want to be a Dallas Cowboy, you kneel for the national anthem. And the quarterback, what's that boy's name? What's his name? Dak Prescott. That's correct. Dak Prescott. He doubled down on that message. So yeah, no Dallas Cowboys received the message or the request from Petula Red.
But see, that's the easy thing to do. That's the easy thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
It would be a compassionate thing to do.
I take my hat off and I, put my hand over my heart while the national anthem is playing.
Yeah.
I have a flag erected on my porch or on my car. Or I have, a flag T-shirt or a pair of pants, or I have some sort of paraphernalia or object adorning the American flag. I always say, God bless America. To me, that seems very easy. That seems much easier than kind of activating your sense of empathy in regard to looking after your fellow human citizens. That seems a lot easier. That seems very easy. It doesn't take a lot of effort, and people tend to drift towards that instead of looking at what's going on, in your own country.
Like I said, like you said, it would have been easy to do, but I guess they don't want the blowback from the people that are reframing what the kneeling actually represents. Sad.
What?
That's sad.
Why can't it be both though? Why can't it be both? Why can't you be like, God dog it, I hate these people for kneeling. I wish they would. I wish they wouldn't. It hurts my heart. Why can't it be both? Why can't they be upset about kneeling, but then say, but you know what? Okay, it's a valid issue. I see what they're talking about. Why can't it be both?
Because people are selfish.
Why can't it be
people
both?
Are selfish. This is the way I feel about this issue. Don't disrespect me. Don't offend me. I don't care about what the other side feels.
Because even if somebody feels disrespected about it, fine, I'll take that. But how does that erase the issue itself? It doesn't.
Because like we said, dealing with this actual issue, dealing with what the players are actually trying to bring awareness to is uncomfortable.
Because they would kind of have to reflect upon the country that they live.
Yeah. And then they would have to reflect on that the kneeling isn't just about Botham Jean. Right now it is, but it's much larger than that because we continue to see the same things happening across our society. So right now it may be about Botham Jean. Right now it might be about O'Shea Terry, but we have been seeing this happening for days, weeks, months, years. This is something that is a problem across our society and is pervasive in our society, and too many people turn a blind eye to it. If you actually make them address it, well, that's uncomfortable. That would be very uncomfortable.
But see, I kind of have to come off that a little bit because I gotta reconsider why it's uncomfortable, and I've been kind of overextending the point about, I guess, looking at their country in a way that would cause them to understand the issue. But I think it's a little bit deeper than that too. It's not just about looking at your country in an honest way, looking at the place you live. I think it's more to do about self as well. You see what I'm saying? Maybe there's some issues with people that are kind of people are struggling with internally that are keeping them from acknowledging certain things as well, and not just how they view their country, because it can't just be about that. There has to be something a little bit deeper.
Well, that's not really different than what you said before, because oftentimes the way they, people see themselves is through the lens of their country.
Yeah, true that. So, sometimes it's hard to separate those two things. And there may be instances where one outweighs the other, because you can't ignore the simple fact that there are people who value certain people over other people, and depending on whether that person is wearing a uniform, that kind of readjust how they value those people too. So it's a mix of a lot of different things that prevents people from seeing what is going on, whether they're unconditional support for law enforcement, whether it's their unconditional support for just authority in general, unconditional support for America,
That's what I'm thinking about.
or just their, let's say, unconditional, I guess, degrading of certain people. So it's probably a mix of a lot of different things in that.
Like that feeling of America, that's a strong feeling. And because you are a citizen here, like that does shape who a lot of these people are. So if you try to attack like what, and like, it's funny that they feel like it's an attack. I don't know that it's an attack. It's an effort to improve the conditions here, but they view it as an attack, which is very funny because they do the same things as it relates to other types of problems going on in our society. It could be, got a little.
God, how'd that get up in here, dog?
I don't even know, man.
Where was that?
But anyway, yeah, I mean, they talk about politics all the time. They talk about Democrats, of course, all the time. So it's okay for them to, I guess, attack America in that way. But when you talk about the institution of police officers, law enforcement, that's something that's hallowed territory. You can't.
You know what?
You can't go there.
That's an interesting point that like kind of connects to like this whole issue surrounding kneeling, Colin Kaepernick, and Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of like criticism people levied towards Colin Kaepernick was that, oh, he's a millionaire. Why is he complaining about things? Why is he complaining about things? He's a millionaire. He should have nothing to complain about. Completely ignoring that he's advocating for people and not necessarily complaining about his specific situation.
Right. He didn't bring up any personal situation.
But isn't that weird that somehow, since he's a millionaire, he can't make America great? But our own president, who is a self-professed billionaire, he can talk about all the things that America can do better. So he wants to improve America, make America great again. Right. Isn't he a billionaire?
Yeah, he is.
So why? How
he doesn't live like a regular person, right?
But see, how can he complain about America and what's wrong with America? And actually, this doesn't just go for Trump. I was just using him as an example.
Oh, I understand what you mean.
Most of our representatives are worth millions of dollars, but yet they complain about things all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's their job.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand why some people can complain.
That's an attack strategy. You talk about these players are millionaires, and here they are talking about other people's problems. They don't go through that.
I'm like, you're a millionaire. Most of our representatives are millionaires, and they make most of their money outside of their job, but they're millionaires. So that argument doesn't even make sense.
But see, it's regular people that have that line of attack. It's not these politicians that may be critical of what Colin Kaepernick is doing, because they understand that they're in the same boat.
That's funny though, how they choose which millionaires to listen to, though, right?
Yeah, it is.
You see what I'm saying? I
told you, man. It's too uncomfortable to really actually like delve into it, man. It's way too uncomfortable. One last thing on Ted Cruz. He, you know, Ted Cruz is lame. You know he's lame. On September 16th on Twitter, he posted a message because he had I guess he had like a little meeting, a little rally or something like that. And PETA had showed up and were they protesting? I don't know that they were there and they had signs.
It was kind of like trolling.
Yeah,
they were trolling.
They were kind of trolling. I don't know if it would rise to the level of protesting.
It was just happy trolling because they were smiling. They were just trying to be kind of like
they wanted to encourage their message. I mean, they wanted to promote their message. Yeah, hey, we're not. We want fair treatment of animals. I mean, that's what they were doing. So anyway, on Twitter, Ted Cruz wrote, PETA protested our town hall yesterday, handing out barbecue tofu. We were glad to welcome them, but it illustrates the stakes after the election. If Beto wins, barbecue will be illegal. And then there was like a crying, laughing emoji.
Illustrate the stakes. Yo.
This is a lame guy.
That was a knee slapper.
Yeah. This is a lame guy.
Like it was a joke, but it's like you can't tell like between his jokes and his political points because those are a joke too.
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing. Like it's a joke, and I'm cool with jokes, but then it's like he doesn't actually follow that up with actual political points any other time. I'm not saying they always have to be together, jokes and political points, but he never offers, well, for the most part, illegitimate political points. They all seem like jokes. So it's no way to tell whether something is a joke or if he's like just trying to like kind of be like tongue in cheek, wink, wink, for real. Like I'm trying, you know what I'm saying?
Like something struck me about this. Like, first of all, PETA is not a political organization. Not in the vein that, you know, it's either Democrat or Republican. So to put PETA on the side of Democrats, that's very interesting for me, for Ted Cruz to do. Because if you know what PETA stands for the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. So there are many Democrats that eat meat. I mean, there are many of them. I don't believe Beto O'Rourke has said anything about how he's not a meat eater. So for Ted Cruz to put PETA on the side of the Democratic Party, it seems that you're putting compassion on the side of the Democratic Party. Because again, PETA wasn't there to protest. PETA was there to spread their message that we are unnecessarily killing animals for our survival, but which is fake, because we have more than enough food that isn't meat based to actually survive. We have protein. We have all that we need to actually survive. We don't unnecessarily have to kill animals. Why is that on the side of the Democratic Party?
You asked. I didn't go there. I went to Beto O'Rourke. Excuse me. I went to Beto O'Rourke. Like, did Beto O'Rourke organize this PETA protest? So how does a PETA protest
translate to Beto
get put
O'Rourke?
On Beto O'Rourke?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Like, PETA's been around for quite a long time. But how does like a PETA protest get placed on Beto O'Rourke?
He is lame. He is lame. And again, I don't think he understands what he's. Again, like, you're putting compassion on Beto O'Rourke. Again, like, I have no evidence that Beto O'Rourke is actually not a meat eater. It doesn't seem like he. I mean, I think that would have been something that he might have stated. But why would you? Did you mistakenly put compassion on the side of the Democrats?
Again,
did you mistakenly do that?
I don't think he knows what he's doing. Like, he's trying to appear folksy to the citizens of Texas, and he always just falls flat on his face because Texas is a soy-producing state. Now, it's not like the top. It's like somewhere in the middle, but Texas actually produces soy. Also, Texas has a huge livestock slaughter industry, too. And last time I checked, what is the preferred feed of animal? Like, what's the preferred animal feed they use, and what is it made of? Soybeans. So Texas, like, is I guess a soy heavy state as far as usage, because that's where tofu is sourced from, soybeans. So like he fails in so many directions. He fails at the joke, and he fails at the agricultural reality and the economic benefit of soy-based products, which is not just limited to food. Right. Because you have soy-based lubricants, you have soy-based inks, you have soy-based crayons, you have even biodiesel uses soy. So it's just like stop it, dog.
He's swinging and missing, man.
He's swinging and missing.
He's at like dire straits here. Like he's like, hey, there's less than 2 months now. There's less than 2 months to the election. Yeah. So it's like, man, I'm really trying to wing it here. I don't know what to do. The polls are they're not favoring me, really. I mean, it's a close, like, the polls are like this, and they shouldn't be. This is a red state, Texas. I'm an incumbent. I shouldn't be having to go through this.
I keep thinking about that lame-ass basketball video he posted.
Like I said,
like,
swinging and missing.
I imagine, like, this race being like Ted Cruz, like, putting the ball in the wrong hoop and scoring points for Beto's team. You know what I'm saying? Because he seems like the person that would do that. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? Keep scoring points for the other team, and it's like, am I winning, guys? Am I winning?
There have been certain campaigns like this. I remember there was a campaign in North Carolina, and it just popped up to me. But I don't even remember the lady's name, but because of the Republican candidate and how she attacked her, I believe that's what actually got the Democratic candidate to win. He's just it looks like he's losing. I don't know if he's trying to lose on purpose or what, but he is obviously losing.
He's trying to get the voters of Texas to look past his non-existent plan to, I guess, cover pre-existing conditions. He's trying to get the people of Texas to ignore his non-existent plan to make college more affordable.
Yeah.
He's trying to get the citizens of Texas to ignore his non-existent plans to help veterans.
Yeah. Or to raise wages.
Or to raise wages. But, you know, as long as you have, you know, God, guns, and barbecue, everything is okay, folks.
All right, let's go on to Dr. Ford. So yeah, last week we briefly talked about this because it had just kind of hit the news. It hit the news cycle about there being some unnamed woman that had sent a letter to Dianne Feinstein. It was through her Congresswoman Eshoo in California. So now we have a name. And the woman's name is Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. And she has accused Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of groping her and attempting to remove her clothes during a party in 1982. At the time, the two were attending neighboring D.C. area high schools. Dr. Ford was at the all-girls Houghton Arms School, and Kavanaugh was at the Georgetown Prep School. So Dr. Ford, who is now a professor at Palo Alto University, told the Washington Post that Kavanaugh and a friend, who were both, quote, stumbling drunk, pushed her into a bedroom. And so this is from the Washington Post. It says, while his friend watched, she said Kavanaugh pinned her to a bed on her back and groped her over her clothes, grinding his body against hers and clumsily attempting to pull off her one-piece bathing suit and the clothing she wore over it. When she tried to scream, she said he put his hand over her mouth. So Dr. Ford also said that she felt that Kavanaugh might inadvertently kill her because it looked like he was trying to suffocate her. So the other friend that was in the room, the friend of Kavanaugh, whose name is Mark Judge, she said that he jumped on top of him. Actually, he jumped on top of him twice. It was the second time that he sent them all tumbling to the floor, and that's when she was able to escape. She locked herself in a bathroom, waited for a while until she heard both of them. I think the way she was kind of describing it, they were kind of stumbling their way out of the room and down the stairs. So that's when she actually left the bathroom and left the house. So this was something that she states that she really didn't tell any about. She didn't tell anybody the details of this until some couples counseling with her husband in 2012. That's when the details actually got out, out to somebody else. So when Brett Kavanaugh was being looked at for Supreme Court justice, that's when she sent a letter. Now she had entitled the letter Christine Blasey, and that's the name that she goes in her professional space. So she did include her name, but she wanted this to remain confidential. She didn't want her name being thrown out there. She didn't want the story to be thrown out there. This was something that she wanted her congresswoman to know about. This is something that she wanted Senator Dianne Feinstein to know about as well when considering Brett Kavanaugh for Supreme Court justice. She kind of
like wanted her colleagues to know. She wanted to keep it in-house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She was actually kind of sparing Kavanaugh in a sense.
With Dianne Feinstein, you talking about? Or are you talking about Blasey Ford?
I think Ford was too.
Okay.
Both Ford and Weinstein were. Feinstein, sorry. Right. Dang, that's funny.
Yeah.
But no, I think Ford was doing that too because, like, it's not like she, made a big stink about it at the time. No. She just said, hey, I just want you guys to know that this happened back then.
And she was also protecting herself too because she knew the shitstorm that was going to come.
She didn't want to bring attention to herself, but she just wanted members of Congress to know, hey, this is what this guy is about. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just to let you know.
Right.
It didn't even seem like she wanted really much to be done about it. You know what I'm saying? It's
True.
probably, and most likely it was probably a part of her healing and her recovery too.
Yeah.
You know
And
what
like I
I'm
said, this was something that she wanted. Of course, Kavanaugh was going to go through the process, the confirmation hearing. So she wanted her congresswoman to know. She wanted her senator to know. But anyway, it didn't stay confidential. Her name was out there, so she felt like, hey, if my story's going to be told, I'm going to be the one to do the storytelling. So that's when she talked to the Washington Post.
People lied, but she had reporters camped outside her house.
Right.
So it was kind of impossible. At that point,
she couldn't stay silent. So Kavanaugh, he issued a statement last week when the story of this became public, but this was before Dr. Ford's name actually was known. And he said, quote, "I categorically and unequivocally deny this allegation. I did not do this back in high school or at any other time." What's interesting as well is that the friend, Mark Judge, he also said before Dr. Ford's name was released, he said that he denied that this incident actually even occurred. He said, quote, "It's just absolutely nuts. I never saw Brett act that way." He described Kavanaugh as a brilliant student who loved sports and was not, quote, into anything crazy or illegal. Now, again, that was before Dr. Ford's name was actually made public. Afterwards, after her name actually came out, all of a sudden, Mark Judge actually he changed his tune a little bit.
Basically defending his boy.
Yeah, because again, he was defending his boy. He was saying that this never happened. This goes against the character of the man that I know, the boy that I know. But again, he kind of changed his stance up a little bit. After Dr. Ford's name was released, he said he had no recollection of the party in general. He didn't even remember the party at all. He also said, quote, "More to the point, I never saw Brett act in the manner Dr. Ford describes. I have no more information to provide the committee, and I do not wish to speak publicly regarding the incidents described in Dr. Ford's letter." So he does not want to be involved whatsoever. And for me, this makes Brett Kavanaugh look much worse.
Like, you would think men in their position, right? These are highly educated men. You would think men in their position would know how to lie better. You see what I'm saying? Because how can you both, like, deny something happened and then say you have no recollection of the party? Do you see what I'm saying? If I have no recollection of being somewhere, I can't defend somebody who was there. If I have no recollection of being at a party, then I can't say what happened or what did not happen at said party.
A proper way would be like, I wasn't there.
See, you're doing too much. Like, when you are doing too much and you are explaining too much unnecessarily, what does that usually point to?
Guilt. You trying to cover something up. Again, like, if Mark Judge really feels like nothing happened, then there would be no problem with him actually stating that to the Senate Judiciary Committee. There would be no problem whatsoever. You had a lot to say before Dr. Ford's name was released. And then afterwards, now you're like, hey, you know what? I thought about it. I don't want to be anywhere near this situation. I already told you. I have no recollection of it. Keep my name out of it. All right, peace.
And like, if you're looking at
it
from Ford's standpoint, like, she actually knows that Kavanaugh's friend was in the room. So, like, coming out with that story, like, she knows that there's somebody like that can vouch for him.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So why would you lie knowing that there's somebody that is going to vouch for him? Most likely because it's true. You know what I'm saying?
Most likely because he's telling the damn truth.
He's telling the damn truth.
Exactly.
And you know what? You know, like, you know, those situations where we like to use that phrase, it's not like the action, or it's not the deed, it's the covering up of the deed. It's the covering up that kind of like seals it. You know, it kind of seals the, I guess, the likelihood that it is a lie. In this case, it's not just the deed that's bad. it's the cover up that's bad too. So it's not like a small thing and the cover up is the big thing. It's a big thing and the cover up is much bigger. And like I don't know, the way I look at a sexual assault at 17 years old, I don't think it should follow you your entire life if you've already reflected upon it.
Yes.
And I think
that's the only
if he would have, I think Kavanaugh would have been good and fine if he reflected on it and be like, oh man, you know, I was 17. I was just dumb. I was in a position where, you know, I felt that women should do whatever for me because I was privileged. I was under the influence, not of just alcohol, but friends hyping me up, 17. I don't know where I was in my mind. It was a one-time thing. I've gotten past that, and nothing like that has ever happened, and I'm sorry about that, blah, blah, blah. I think he would have been fine. You see what I'm saying? So that is the only case where something happens at that age and it shouldn't follow you. But to me, like, this cover-up campaign led by Chuck Grassley just like kind of magnifies it, like to a point that it shouldn't have been.
Like you said, it's not just his old buddy Mark Judge that is trying to provide cover, and well, really just trying to stay out of it now. At first he was trying to provide cover, and now he's like, just keep my name out of it. Like you said, it's the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Charles E. Grassley, a Republican from Iowa.
I like how you just Charles, you just went ahead, you just and his middle initial.
Exactly.
You ain't playing.
No. So Grassley, Senator Grassley, soon after this actually made the airwaves, soon after this was actually being discussed by prominent media heads, commentators all around, there was a letter that was provided. I believe this was maybe like 24 hours, like 24 hours later. Within 24 hours, there was a letter that was signed by 65 different women that knew Brett Kavanaugh from back in the day, back in high school, back in the 80s. Now, again, Brett Kavanaugh went to an all-boys school, right? And, Dr. Ford, she went to an all-girls school. Now, these were 65 women that I guess were around the neighborhood, around the area, that ran into, I guess had dealings with Brett Kavanaugh back in the day. They were friendly with him. And in the letter, they say, quote, through the more than 35 years we have known him, Brett has stood out for his friendship, character, and integrity. In particular, he has always treated women with decency and respect. That was true when he was in high school, and it has remained true to this day. So my feeling on this is, I have a couple feelings on it. I guess the prevailing feeling is, though, how did you come up with 65 women within 24 hours? Seems like you already knew that this was going to rear its ugly head, and you already had this in your drawer, in your desk drawer, and you pulled it out when you needed it. Yeah, there's no way you got 65 people from 30 years ago to sign the letter within 24 hours.
I think that needs to be kind of laid out on the table, like seriously, like so people can see how ridiculous that is, like how ridiculously unlikely that is. You have 65 women who knew Brett Kavanaugh 30 plus years ago, didn't even go to the same school. But you know what? I'm gonna change up the story and make it easier. Okay. And make it even more plausible. Well, it's not really more plausible because still implausible. Let's say they went to the same high school.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So this is people that actually went to the high school.
Let's change it up to make it easier for them.
So all you got to do is you look at the yearbook. But you got to find a yearbook. You got to find a yearbook.
So now, there's 65 women, 30 plus years ago, from not even in the same high school, just the same area.
Yes.
Many, if not most of these women are married. So guess what?
Oh, their last name
Their
has
last
changed.
name changed.
And I also believe that probably a lot of them have moved away.
Have moved, so they're not even in the same
Not
area.
even in the same area anymore.
So he was able to get all that information, find these ladies, and get them to sign a letter.
Not just talk to them, but to get them to agree to sign the letter.
A letter about,
together.
About how Brett Kavanaugh is a wonderful human being. 24 hours after the sexual assault allegations broke. 24 hours, dog?
You know people work, right? You know people work, right?
Oh, that's another factor, too, that I just wasn't even considering.
People work. In one day, you were able to get them outside of work, contact them, be like, yeah, this was going on. This was going on. Can I have, yeah, can you sign this letter? Blah, blah. Yeah, okay, good. You think life actually happens like that? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, it didn't happen like that whatsoever. They already knew about this allegation.
It's funny. It's like one of those situations where you like play a hand that can't be beat, right?
Yeah.
And you know the other person can't beat it, but they have to play their hand, and that's what they had to do. So like by releasing this 65 women say Kavanaugh is not a rapist letter, like in such a short time after the story broke, this kind of proves that Grassley's committee sat on these allegations and kind of pre-planned all this, planned to cover it up.
No doubt.
Like ahead of time.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? In advance.
In advance. They had to. There's no way that anybody can actually believe that all of this occurred within 24 hours. And you know what? Even if it did, are you telling me that because 65 women attest to the great character of Brett Kavanaugh, how he's an upstanding gentleman, and how they have never seen him disrespect them in any way, does that mean that for a moment in time that he didn't disrespect somebody else? Does that mean that in some point in time he didn't actually try to sexually assault somebody else? Like, we hear this kind of claim all the time, like, hey, these women over here. It happened with Roy Moore as well. The women on the they were on the steps speaking up for Roy Moore. It doesn't matter. I'm sure there are women.
They were all old women, too.
They were all old,
Moore,
no doubt. But with Brett Kavanaugh, I'm sure there are a lot of people, a lot of women that he didn't try to sexually assault. I'm sure there are a lot of women that he has been nice to and respectful to over the course of all of his years on this planet. That's very understandable. But that doesn't mean that there was not at least one woman that he was not respectful to. That does not mean that there was not one woman that he tried to sexually assault.
I'm gonna ask
their tales is inconsequential evidence or information, and it means nothing.
I'm gonna ask you a question, Will, live on this show. Do you have a list somewhere of 65 or more women that you didn't rape? Huh?
No.
You don't have that? You don't have some sort of list somewhere? You don't keep a list of 65 or more? You don't have to be 65, it could be 30.
No.
5,000.
I'm trying to think about, like, if something popped off, right? I'm trying to think about, can I get 65 women from back in the day? And this is just 20 years ago, right?
People that you actually knew.
People that we just know. Can we actually get a hold of them within a day and be like, yo, can you back me up right here?
And you knew these
Absolutely
people.
not.
And you knew these people.
And you knew these. And we're friends on Facebook too, right? You think we would get...
You knew of each other in high school?
You think we would get a response? I don't think so. It's foolishness. But anyway, so there has been a hearing set for Monday. And they have requested, Senator Chuck Grassley, he has requested that Dr. Ford come and testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, earlier in the week, seemed as though that might possibly happen. But then, I believe this was through her lawyers, Dr. Ford said that no, what should precede these hearings is an FBI investigation. Now, Senator Chuck Grassley has stated that that's not going to happen, and actually, that's not even the correct strategy, because this isn't a criminal investigation. Right, the correct forum for going through these events is the Senate Judiciary Committee. So that's why he opened the door for her to actually come on Monday and testify, and that will give the senators what they need to know, and if they should consider that when they're considering Brett Kavanaugh for confirmation. So this was pretty much framed as a take it or leave it kind of thing. He gave Dr. Ford until 10 a.m. on Friday morning to decide whether she was going to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And again, at that point, or up until a little bit earlier today, it was like, no, that wasn't going to happen. And this really kind of brings back Anita Hill from 1991. Anita Hill was the woman that accused at the time, it was the nominee, Clarence Thomas, for the Supreme Court. She accused him of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment. And that seemed like a rush, kind of like rush proceedings. Now, the timeline has been a little bit different, but it's the same in a lot of regards. But in that I guess in that situation, there was an FBI investigation. So in both of these situations, there's an FBI background check, and there was one with Brett Kavanaugh as well, but that is closed. And Grassley, he told conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt that the FBI investigation of Judge Kavanaugh is closed and that the FBI is not doing any further investigation. And again, that is true. The FBI investigation that has been closed because they've already done it. Now, they didn't go way back and investigate him, and they definitely didn't investigate this particular claim. And when it came to Anita Hill, when she made the claim of sexual misconduct or sexual harassment towards Clarence Thomas, the FBI investigation was closed then too, but it was reopened. It was reopened by the current president, George H.W. Bush. When he heard about the claims, he said, okay, well, let's reopen it. And it did last only 3 days, which is not sufficient time to actually investigate the claim. But at least they did reopen it, and at the end they concluded that they determined that the claim was unfounded. So of course we know, because he's still on the court, Clarence Thomas was confirmed by a vote of 52 to 48. But in this case, what the Republicans have done, or what they seem to be doing, because we know that they have moved farther right throughout the years. This is not the same party that it was under Ronald Reagan. It's not the same party that it was under George H.W. Bush. So they don't care that there's an allegation of sexual misconduct. What they want is these proceedings to go through so that they can confirm their guy. Because that's all they're really interested in. That he has been accused of sexual assault, that's really inconsequential information. We want Brett Kavanaugh on the bench so that he can fulfill the agenda of the Republican Party. So all this other nonsense stuff is we're not going to be concerned with that. Earlier today, though, it was reported that through the attorneys of Dr. Ford that she was willing to speak before the Senate Judiciary Committee. But I don't believe it's going to be done on Monday. If they can negotiate the terms and if they're fair, and we don't know what that means, but she is open to testifying. So this is something that, of course, is still going to play out. But again, this still feels like it's rushing the process. There can be an investigation done. You can go back and talk to people and get a feeling for if this is likely to have happened or not. You can get witness testimony. You can find people that were at that party. And for Christine Blasey Ford to actually request an FBI investigation when Brett Kavanaugh isn't, when Mark Judge isn't, when nobody on the other side is, but Christine Blasey Ford is, why would she welcome this type of investigation if she's not telling the truth? Exactly.
Because she would have everything to lose.
Everything.
And if Kavanaugh, is clean in this, he would be like, yeah, go right ahead, because you would look forward to your name being cleared. There's probably no better feeling to a politician than being vindicated. Probably no better feeling to being lied on and being your name being slandered and then you being vindicated. It's probably not a better feeling. Why wouldn't you want that?
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
And like you said just a few minutes ago about,
didn't she pass it? Go ahead.
Yeah, like you said earlier about the actions of a 17-year-old. I don't think anybody is gonna say that that should determine, your life or what's expected from you 20, 30, 40 years later. I don't think anybody is under the impression that we should always penalize somebody for something that they did at 17. But like you said, that comes with them addressing the situation. They'd have to actually address the situation and admit that that wasn't their best course of action. Like, they actually hurt somebody, and that's not them now, and they've lived a life that has been trying to make up for that mistake. But that's not what Brett Kavanaugh is doing. All Brett Kavanaugh is doing is saying that this isn't me. I have nothing to do with this. I deny all these allegations.
And the thing is, it's like, it's also the approach after the allegations that rubs me the wrong way as well. And Kavanaugh would have to agree with the approach that's being used by Charles E. Grassley.
Charles E. Grassley,
as you
that's
said.
correct.
Because whatever approach he is using as defense for Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh is like, good job, guy.
Yeah. Cover me.
So again, if we're looking at the approach, you kind of got to look at it with the side eye.
Right.
Because like, what's the rationale behind trotting out 65, 100, 5,000, 10,000, or even 100,000 women?
Yeah.
Like, I guess if that guy is being accused of rape, like, what's the rationale behind that? Like, how is that like a defense for why he's not a rapist? Trotting out 1 million women.
Yeah.
How is that a defense to show that he's not a rapist? Trotting out all those women that he didn't rape.
Because if he actually did anything to those whatever number of women, then certainly he would have been caught much earlier than it is right now.
But think about what that.
It doesn't mean anything for that one woman.
But think about what that suggests, though. Like, a guy can't possibly be a rapist unless he tries to rape every single woman that crosses his path.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what they're kind of suggesting. You have to go after every single woman that you come into contact with for us to believe this particular woman you did something to.
That's a standard. That's a standard. A standard that would not work in any other situation. Imagine if you were accused or suspected of like burglary or something. And your defense was like, I couldn't have possibly committed that one burglary. Like, I couldn't have possibly robbed that house because look at all these other houses that I did not rob.
Exactly.
That makes no sense. What would you think if I used that as a defense?
I thought you were gonna go with the whole grocery store thing. Look, I've been to this grocery store like for like 10 years. Never robbed it before.
So that means I couldn't have robbed it last night, right?
That's ridiculous, man. Again, it seems that she is to be believed. And again, every case, I always say this, every case should be judged on its own merits. And you have to look at the evidence, you have to look at the character of the people that are involved. You have to look at the defense of the people that are involved as well. And it just seems to me that this is a woman that has everything to lose here. If she's actually lying about this, my gosh, and she's actually requesting an FBI investigation, like that's something that you're not going to come back from, So this is a decorated professional. She has written, she has been published. It's she's pretty notable in her profession. So this would really harm her career, her whole life.
It's something else that kind of like just popped up or popped like in my head because I kind of forgot that you mentioned it earlier. When was it first divulged to a therapist?
Oh, well, that was during the couples therapy.
2012. 2012.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. She divulged an incident like to a therapist in 2012. 6 years ago. 6 years ago. So she would have been she would have to be the most clairvoyant. Not only the most clairvoyant, she would have to be a clairvoyant manipulator.
Yeah.
Meaning like she was both clairvoyant and just looking to like stunt someone's career and destroy someone's career.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because like in 2012, did she like report like she just feed the story to the therapist to create some sort of timeline or to create a storyline? So 6 years later, when Kavanaugh is nominated for a Supreme Court pick, this will come back up? You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's ridiculous. But a lot of people too have said, like, why did you wait so long to come up with this? And this is the exact time that it comes up. Like, I have seen certain detractors saying that, hey, he went through confirmation before. This was years earlier. He went through a confirmation. We've talked about that before, and it went through a long process as well. She didn't bring it up then, so why is she bringing it up now? We're talking about the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, a position where he's going to be on the bench. I mean, it's a lifetime position. He has the ability to choose when he's going to leave the bench. So we're talking about decades. Don't you think that this is some information that would come out? If somebody has been harmed by that individual, don't you think that particular individual would try to contact the people that are going to make the decision whether he should be put up on the bench or not? Don't you think that's some information that they would want discussed?
But isn't that how it works though?
That's how,
but
like
that's,
we said, there's always a background check, right?
But that's how it works for everyone.
Yes, there's always vetting.
When you apply for a job, what happens, Will? When you apply for a job, what does an employer do?
They do a background check.
They do a background check. They check your references, and sometimes they check your social media.
Sometimes they do.
Right?
Yep.
So, if they discover something troubling and they decide to ask you about it during the interview, wouldn't it be ridiculous of you to question the timing of their inquiry? And they're like, how? Like, why did you discover this stuff right now?
Yeah.
Why
are you talking about it now?
Why are you talking about it now?
Yeah.
Like, as if the discovery and inquiry is not prompted by you submitting an application.
Exactly. It's because you want something.
Yes.
Also, if we go back to 1991 and the Anita Hill, those hearings, there was one guy that was around back then.
Yo, your voice went high.
He was actually on the Senate Judiciary Committee back then as well. It was Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican from Utah. And back then, the FBI reopening the investigation to Clarence Thomas, he called that the very right thing to do. His quote, not mine, that's his exact quote, the very right thing to do. Now, in this situation regarding Dr. Ford, he has said that the FBI does not do investigations like this and that the responsibility falls to us.
The responsibility falls to us. Okay, then what are you doing? Then what are you doing then?
They want her to come before the Senate Judiciary Committee and testify. But again, why were you all on board with the FBI investigation being reopened to investigate the claim of Anita Hills? But now, no, it's not the FBI's place. It's all on us. Again, the Republican Party is not the same Republican Party of back in the day. Again, even that Republican Party rushed through the investigation of Anita Hill's claim. But now they don't even want to have anything to do with that. Let's just confirm our boy so he can get to work. That's job number one. Sorry, we don't want to talk about all of this other background noise. Sad, man. It's really sad, man. There were activists that were occupying Senator Charles E. Grassley's office earlier today. Several of them were arrested, but they were shouting, "We believe Christine Ford. We believe Christine Ford." Again, this is a national story. Many people are talking about it. It seems as though the Republicans do not care. Again, all they want is for Dr. Christine Blasey Ford to come before them, get that out of the way so that they can get on with the business of confirming Brett Kavanaugh. And if we are thinking that President Donald Trump might actually insert himself into this whole mess and say that, you know what, we are going to reopen the investigation. We are going to reopen the FBI investigation. This is Donald Trump that was famously caught on tape talking about what did he say? What did he say on the Access Hollywood video?
Oh, talking about
grab him by
the pussy.
Exactly.
And he was just saying he was talking about sneaking in on the beauty pageant contestants too.
Correct. Yeah. Dozens of claims of sexual inappropriate behavior.
Since you're rich and powerful, they don't even care. They just let you do it. Yeah. They just let you do it.
Didn't his first wife claim that he raped her and then took it back?
So I don't remember that.
She did. If you think this guy is going to stand up for what's right as it concerns a woman being abused. Oh no!
Don't hold your breath.
That's not.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's move on. Okay. All right. Those are two. Those are the two. Yeah, those are the two biggest stories that we definitely wanted to get to. You know what time it is, man? Hillary Clinton time. Let's talk about Hillary Clinton.
Nah, this is your segment, dog. This is your segment, dog. You doing this on your own, dog. Because I don't, man. I've been trying. I've been trying to talk about
Hillary Clinton.
I don't want to talk about her, dog. I don't want to talk about her, dog. I've been trying to.
It's never a good day if you have to talk about Hillary Clinton, but again, she has kind of forced the hand here. Hillary Clinton penned a new essay for the Atlantic.
Is it a backhand? Is it a backhand?
Hillary Clinton penned a new essay for The Atlantic attacking President Trump for what she said are, quote, assaults on U.S. democracy, creating a national crisis. She said, well, she did this by highlighting 5 major areas where Trump has failed as a president. And here is one line from the essay. She states, Trump and his cronies do so many despicable things that it can be hard to keep track.
You know what? Like, you know what word sounds just so hilarious coming out of her mouth? Cronies. Cronies. Like, how is she talking about cronies, dog?
Man, look.
How is she talking about cronies? Like,
self-awareness level, negative 145, man.
Negative 100. What's her? Well, okay. What's her Madden awareness rating?
I give her 2.
2? Okay.
I give her 2.
Okay, what's her Madden play recognition awareness? Play recognition awareness. Zone coverage and man coverage.
Ooh, man. That got to be ones. They got to be ones. At the very bottom, man. They got to be ones, man. Because it seems as though she does not know what she's doing here. She doesn't know the words that are coming out of her. Her cronies? Despicable things is hard to keep track. Do you know how many things... Like, we didn't have to look. First of all, we have picked fun at a guy like H.A. Goodman many times because of his content. Now, a lot of that content, when you're referencing Hillary Clinton, is so overboard, it's overblown. Some of it is just straight fake.
Right.
But back in 2016, us, a lot of people that were covering the 2016 election, we had a lot of things to talk about as it referenced Hillary Clinton. We had many things to assault Hillary Clinton for because she gave us such ample material. You talking about it's hard to keep track of what Donald Trump is doing and his cronies are doing? Again, self-awareness level, negative 245. It just went up by 100. And
I think it goes up because she used the word cronies. That word itself gives her like extra credit, but in a bad way. Yeah, man. It's weird because like we don't have to go into like the 2016 election and kind of relitigate that, but like it's almost as if it's like she purposely says stuff just to get attention.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that.
You know what I'm saying? Because nobody talking about her, and people are probably not gonna like I don't know, hang on to her words if they're like overly positive. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like I feel she's like purposefully saying stuff,
trolling.
She purposely trolling because she want people to still talk about her, not just talk about her, but just to have people's like.
She wants to remain relevant.
Yeah. And just, because she understands politics, so even negative attention is attention.
Exactly, attention is attention.
And so it's like she just seems very desperate. Like, I want to put my hat in the ring. I want to put my name in the ring in this political commentary surrounding Trump, as if there's not enough already. You see what I'm saying? Like, she's not adding anything new. I was like, that's the point. Like, she's not adding anything new. If she was adding something new,
Right.
then it would be different. And if she was adding things that weren't ironic, it would be different as well.
True.
So one, she's not adding anything new to the discussion that nobody else is talking about. And two, it's ridiculously ironic. So that's why she should be laughed at.
Yes, furiously laughed at. The areas that she highlighted were rule of law, election integrity, waging war on truth and reason, i.e., President Trump attacking the media and his consistent lying. The fourth one was, quote, breathtaking corruption. That was the fourth
Oh,
one.
dog.
Breathtaking corruption.
She just got negative 50 points. Negative 50 more points for saying breathtaking.
Breathtaking.
Like, why she got to like put so much pepper on the exposition,
Exactly.
dog?
You don't have to use the adjective. Just say corruption. Just say corruption. Like, we would have read it like, okay, but when you say breathtaking,
It was breathtaking.
are you talking about yourself?
It was breathtaking.
All right, so again,
You know what she did? You know what she did when she said breathtaking, right? Because she said it to herself before she made these statements. You know what she did? You know when she said breathtaking, she like whipped her like scarf around her neck.
You can see that.
Breathtaking corruption. Get the fuck out of here.
All right, so that was the fourth one, breathtaking corruption. The fifth one, the final one, was undermining national unity. And she states, quote, Trump doesn't even try to pretend he's a president for all Americans. It's hard to ignore the racial subtext of virtually everything Trump says. So, again, actually, that comment is true. I mean, of course that comment is true. That's how we feel, no doubt. Coming from Hillary Clinton, though, it reads as though, like, why are you stating this? You're toxic. Like, get out of the way, okay? If somebody else states this, of course, like we said, it's true information. But in this environment, the political atmosphere, it's too soon. We're just 2 years. It's coming on 2 years now. It's still way too soon. Like, you need to back up, let other people enter the fray, let other people have this discussion. But she had an objective, and of course, that was to promote. I guess it was to the Democratic agenda. It was to promote, or it was to kind of encourage people to become active and to be politically engaged and to show up at the polls during the midterms. So she said about that, she said, whether it was abusing the filibuster and stealing a Supreme Court seat, gerrymandering congressional districts to disenfranchise African Americans, or muzzling government climate scientists, Republicans were undermining American democracy long before Trump made it to the Oval Office. Now we must do all we can to save our democracy and heal our body politic. First, we've got to mobilize massive turnout in the 2018 midterms. There are fantastic candidates running all over the country, making their compelling cases every day about how they'll raise wages, bring down healthcare costs, and fight for justice. If they win, they'll do great things for America, and we could finally see some congressional oversight of the White House. So that was, like I said, that was her larger mission. It was to do what we saw President Obama do, or former President Obama do, last week, in which he made a speech. He was in front of the University of Illinois, I believe, at Champaign. And it was all to get out the vote, because they understand how imperative it is to show up in large numbers and retake the House and possibly even retake the Senate for the Democratic Party. And like I said, that's the agenda. That's job number one for the Democratic Party.
Do you think that kind of Hillary Clinton is trying to ride on a little wave that Barack Obama created in recent weeks? Probably saw him do his thing, and probably saw him get some praise for it, because he did get some praise for it.
Yeah.
So do you think that's her trying to like jump on that little train right now?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
But I mean, like, again, like everything she says is kind of true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But it just, again, it's just like
it reads different coming from
her. It's just like one garbage pail kid talking trash to another garbage pail kid.
Exactly.
And it's like, if you want to talk about undermining democracy, true. But like, it is funny that she doesn't view what she does as undermining democracy, because it's like, I guess like your more, centrist Democrats' concept of undermining democracy is very overt. That's what they see, and that's what kind of Trump represents. It's like overt, destruction of democracy or undermining democracy, when her type of politics undermines democracy as well.
But
just kind of in a different way.
Yeah.
Just kind of in a different way.
Yeah.
And so
it's hidden by I guess all the eyes. People I guess that are in Congress can see it. Maybe some media heads can see it as well, but for the larger population, we don't really see it until it's way too late. The corruption may be done in a different fashion, but it's corruption nonetheless.
Like, I accept money from all the industries that destroy your life, but I'm going to kind of rhetorically stand up for you and say, I represent you. I'm going to treat you nice and speak nicely to your face, but yet I'm going to take money and constantly do favors for the industries that are destroying your life. And that's what kind of politician Hillary Clinton is. Yeah. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he's going to he is going to talk nice to a certain base, but even when he talks nice to a certain base, it's in a very vile way to stoke certain feelings within them. But when it comes to things like transgender people, Muslims, when it comes to immigrants, when it comes to black people, he's openly hostile. And so it's obvious, you know what I'm saying? His attack on the media,
right?
His attack on anyone that has a negative thing to say about him. His attack on NFL, his attack on NFL football players like LeBron James. I can keep going. So it's obvious. It's obvious there. So, but go ahead, man.
I will say though, this might be very uncomfortable. This might be very uncomfortable. But I think by now it's a realization that I think many people have come to. If you're talking about which one of them you would rather be the president right now, I think that would be Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And that's not me advocating for Hillary Clinton. It's seeing that both of them are horrible human beings, right? Both of them are engaged in corruption. Both of them really do not have the interest of the vast majority of us at heart and at mind. But at this point, I no doubt would rather deal with her corruption than his.
See, okay, so what you're saying is we would still be talking about her, but we'd be talking about different things.
Oh yes, no doubt.
And you know what? To be honest, it would have actually been better for the show. If you're just talking about viewership.
Oh, that's true.
It would have been better for the show.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Because we basically would have been kind of continuing what we were doing.
Yeah.
In 2016, will we not?
Yeah, no doubt.
Because a lot of our content was Bernie based, Clinton based, Bernie based, Clinton based, Debbie Wasserman Schultz based, DNC based.
You throw in Trump in there a little bit.
It was Trump based too. Like
Trump,
we didn't stick to Hillary Clinton.
Right.
So it would actually because since we were kind of like hard on her, like real hard on her.
Yeah. I wonder where H.A. Goodman would be right now. That's a funny thought.
Oh man,
it would be even more than what we're used to.
Oh no, it would be definitely more.
Yeah,
definitely more. He wouldn't have a MAGA train to ride on for sure.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah, he has to go somewhere else. All right, so actually, let's kind of stay in that direction. Jimmy Dore, host of the Jimmy Dore Show.
Wait. Why you say we staying in that direction, dog? You after mentioning HA? Is that what you trying to hint at something?
No, actually I wasn't even talking about HA. I'm just talking about the whole Hillary, Bernie, Trump.
Okay.
It's kind of an extension of that a little bit. So anyway, Jimmy Dore, host of the Jimmy Dore Show on YouTube, member of the TYT, Young Turks. Jimmy Dore feels very hostile towards the Democratic Party, and anybody that has ever seen a show of Jimmy Dore's or a segment of Jimmy Dore's, that kind of feeling smacks you across the face like a brick hit you. So recently, Dore has some things to say about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Democratic nominee for New York's 14th congressional district. Ocasio-Cortez appeared on CNN's State of the Union with Jake Tapper on Sunday. And this is what Dore had to say in a video he entitled, Ocasio-Cortez endorses Cuomo as Cuomo flips off progressives.
You guys ready for this? Watch this.
What I also look forward to moving forward is us rallying behind all Democratic nominees, including the governor, to make sure that he wins in November.
She's a Democrat, so she has to tell everybody that Andrew Cuomo is the answer. Do you see what the problem is with progressives trying to take over the Democratic Party? Do you see the problem? A, it's never going to happen, and B, they get co-opted. She got nothing for this. Like Cynthia Nixon, like some people were saying, well, maybe Cynthia Nixon will get Andrew Cuomo to admit or to agree to sign on a single payer if it gets passed, and then she'll endorse him. Or maybe she'll get something, and then nothing. They got nothing from Andrew Cuomo. Nothing. They're just going along. They're falling in line. People fucking hate Andrew. Andrew Cuomo is what's wrong with this country. And the Democrats are serving him up on a hot platter for us. This isn't intellectually honest. You're just as bad as Republicans when you do this shit.
So again, that feeling from Jimmy, how he really has some negative feelings about the Democratic Party. Like I said, smacks you in the face. You can't miss it. So his feeling about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is that she's doing way too much here. Why did she go ahead and endorse the incumbent governor? Andrew Cuomo, that just recently, last week, beat Cynthia Nixon in the Democratic primary. He feels like her message is being co-opted. He feels like she didn't get anything for like this endorsement that she made of Andrew Cuomo. But like my feeling about it is this, or just on the like she didn't get anything from Andrew Cuomo to arrive at this endorsement. What leverage does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has, or what leverage does Cynthia Nixon have at this point? She just got beat. Cynthia Nixon, she just got beat, okay? She just got beat last week in the New York primary. So I know during the primary, or even before, like I said, before the primary, there's no doubt that Cynthia Nixon and types like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was pushing Andrew Cuomo farther to the left. We don't believe him to be a progressive, but no doubt this was a significant challenge for Andrew Cuomo, and he wanted to come off as a progressive. So he did get pushed to the left by Cynthia Nixon. But at this point, what leverage do any one of them have to keep pushing him right now when he's the Democratic nominee? They have nothing. They don't have any power in regards to like what action he's going to take right now. The people of New York have spoken, and they have chosen Andrew Cuomo as their Democratic nominee. So again, what could when she's on CNN with Jake Tapper, what could she possibly say about Andrew Cuomo? She could attack him. She could attack him.
I think that was.
But would that do anything?
No, it wouldn't. And I think that's the line of questioning. I guess that was trying to create a situation where she was attacking Cuomo. Now, like as far as like Jimmy's approach to this, like he has a habit of playing very short clips, and extrapolating from them in a way that is a little bit exaggeratory. And I don't think he purposefully does it. I just think that that's a function of who he is, because he's a comedian, and that's what like the gift comedians have. They can take little things in life and exaggerate them and make them funny. But unfortunately, if you use that in politics, it makes you into a tool. Because all he was doing was kind of, I don't know, like heightening the drama a bit based on what she said. Again, he just played a short clip from a long interview. It's not like she just came out and endorsed Cuomo, right, like out of the blue.
Well, actually, so at that point, we have the video from the CNN interview with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So we're going to play the question and response portion from that segment so that you can, you can analyze exactly what she said based on based on the question that she was asked.
You endorsed progressive candidate Cynthia Nixon in the Democratic primary for governor of New York. She lost on Thursday to Governor Andrew Cuomo by a whopping 31 points. Now, I know progressive candidates have had plenty of other victories, including yours, but Governor Cuomo said that your progressive wave was, quote, not even a ripple. He called your primary win a, quote, fluke, and he asked on Friday, quote, where was that effect yesterday? What's your response to Governor Cuomo?
Well, I mean, I always take I'm always down to go toe-to-toe sometimes, but I think when you actually look at the numbers that we focused on, every single down-ballot progressive candidate in my district, New York 14, won. New York had a profound tidal change, really, in the Democratic Party. 1 out of every 5 Democratic senators got replaced on Thursday night. And the path to eliminating the IDC was through New York 14 in my district. So I'm proud to say that every single locally endorsed candidate that we mobilized for won our election.
Right.
Cynthia Nixon did a phenomenal job.
She lost your district by 30 points.
Right. But we focused on our local candidates and we focused on the legislatures. But, I think that what she did was that she centered a lot of phenomenal issues. She centered racial justice. She centered criminal justice reform. She centered the legalization of marijuana, single-payer health care. And a lot of down-ballot candidates benefited from that. And what I also look forward to moving forward is us rallying behind all Democratic nominees, including the governor, to make sure that he wins in November.
So because now you have like a little bit more to go on.
Yeah,
you
more
have
context.
You have more context. And if you look at how Tapper started the Cuomo conversation, it did seem as if he was kind of trying to get Ocasio-Cortez to strike back at Cuomo for what he said after his primary victory. And you can tell she recognized that. And she was like, yeah, I'm always willing to go toe to toe, but so she tried to like redirect the conversation because I believe she recognized what he was trying to do because she's been on there before. Like all CNN is trying to do is bring her on there so she can trip on those landmines that they set for her. Start a fight. And like connected to that is the idea that some progressives don't want to kind of entertain is that Ocasio-Cortez needs support from the middle of the base if
she's going to win.
Exactly.
If she's going to win.
If she's going to win.
This is somebody that has not even won her election yet. She's just a nominee at this point. She has not entered Congress yet.
So bashing, rejecting, or rebuking elected Democrats is not going to help her. No. And we have to consider the fact that she hasn't won anything yet. So it's important for her to walk a fine line up until voting day. Now, like Tapper asked her about Cuomo specifically. The line of questioning centered on Cuomo. Now, if you listen to her answer, what did she say? She said supporting all Democrats. And she says including Cuomo because he specifically asked about it. So it's like, to me, context matters more than Jimmy Dore's armchair outrage.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jimmy actually, he also talked about that people hate Andrew Cuomo, right? People hate Andrew Cuomo. He's everything that's wrong with this country, everything wrong with the Democratic Party. Andrew Cuomo beat Cynthia Nixon by 31 percentage points. How many people hate him? You understand? How many people hate him? As progressives, nothing reads like more hot garbage than vote blue no matter who. Right? I can't stand that kind of line, right? But that is more so relevant when you're talking about the primaries, because that's when you get to actually fight against people that are the people that are on your own side, people that are in your own party. So at that point, as progressives, we fight really hard to get the people that we think actually represent us in Congress. That's when we do it. But when it comes to the election, like when it comes to the general election, and somebody like Andrew Cuomo prevails and he beats the progressive candidate, what is there to do at that point? Okay, like I understand that Andrew Cuomo has a long record, and it's a checkered past, and we have many things to condemn him for, criticize him about. But are we saying that the Republican Party, should we allow them to win? No, I don't think anybody would say that. But I know a lot of people, and Jimmy Dore in his video as well, he said that if he was in New York, he would vote for the Green Party candidate. Now, the Green Party candidate, I don't even know who it is. Does anybody think that that Green Party candidate is going to win? Absolutely not. They have no chance of winning. No chance of winning.
Cynthia Nixon wasn't a Green Party candidate.
She wasn't a Green Party.
She got toasted.
She got toasted. 31 percentage points, right? So if we don't think the Green Party candidate has any chance of winning, is there anything else that we're trying to do? In 2016, we have stated many times that the reason that we pushed Jill Stein and we voted for Jill Stein was because we wanted her to eclipse 5% of the total vote, because that would have done something for the Green Party. We're talking about ballot access. We're talking about matching federal funds. That was an actual goal that maybe in the future we would see some improvement. We would see more awareness for the Green Party nationally. When you're talking about national races, that was the goal that we had in mind. We knew that it was a far-fetched idea that she would actually win the presidency, but there was a goal. Is there a goal in New York for voting for the Green Party candidate?
So now we're getting to the meat of the issue, the goal. What's the goal? See, it's kind of easy for us to sit in our little righteous progressive spaces and create standards for people who we support as if we know what it takes to win.
Right.
Like, I think people not in her position making claims about what she should have said or what she shouldn't have said is only a projection what they would or wouldn't have said,
no doubt,
if in her position.
Yes.
There just seems to be a lot of armchair quarterbacking here, and a lot of unrealistic armchair quarterbacking. It's like people are expecting someone who hasn't even won yet, I'll add, to like go up in there and just start flipping over tables.
Yes.
And doing the political equivalent of, you know how like you tip over a bookshelf, a tall bookshelf, and they're all in a line, they all just fall over like dominoes. It just seems like people are expecting like progressives to go up in there before they've even won anything.
Before the general election.
And do all that. It just seems as if like people are more concerned with her rebuking Democrats and just like chastising Democrats on national TV rather than playing the game to win.
Yes.
And I guess feeling good about somebody being a true progressive.
See, now we understand that though. No doubt we understand that because
they want to say that.
Yeah, like we live in a society, or no, we want to live in a society where you don't have to play the game. Like there is no game when it comes to politics. Like just the best ideas wins. There's no money in politics. It's just about the integrity of the candidate and the best ideas. But that's not the reality that we live in. So what people that are subscribing to the mentality of Jimmy Dore are saying is that, you know, hey, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you're a progressive, right? Represent me. Forget about all of them. Represent me. If you don't, I'm not going to call you a true progressive. You're a fake. Now, there's way more of them. And that's why I think Jimmy Dore is being, how can
disingenuous?
I say? Well, yeah, I was going to say intellectually dishonest, because he said that about Ocasio-Cortez. Because he's overestimating the influence of progressives. It's a small-knit community, okay? When we win, it is because of centrist Democratic voters. That's why progressive candidates win. It's not just on the backs of progressive voters, the voters that, you know, it was like hardcore Bernie supporters, people that are riding hard for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's not just them. It's centrist Democratic voters as well. That's the only way they actually even get an opportunity to actually have a seat in the United States Congress.
This is the reason why kind of progressives can't make any headway, because like their feelings get into it. Like, because you don't think, like, you think we like the fact that she said that? You think we like that? But we understand why she has to do it. There's a big difference between liking something and understanding why she had to do that. That mosquito, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I think that, like, progressives in too many instances, like, if something doesn't feel good to them, they're going to reject it.
Just categorically
reject it.
You're gone.
Like,
you're not a progressive anymore.
One of the things is we have to look at reality, and if we can't approach electoral politics by examining what the reality is as far as where the rest of the voting base is, also trying to, I guess, actually trying to create that umbrella. You know what I'm saying? Doing what Hillary Clinton claimed she was trying to do by taking those on the left and who represent a lot of left in that base. We're not just talking about people who are a part of a political movement or a party or an organization. We're talking about people. Without a movement of people, it doesn't matter how progressive someone is. So there has to be some kind of movement in the middle, and that's all we're talking about. And if you don't, like, I guess, get that in your head, then we're gonna constantly be, like, just spinning our wheels and losing elections.
Exactly.
Like, now, as far as, like, Jimmy being a little bit disingenuous, like, he extrapolated something out of that equates to putting words inside of Ocasio-Cortez's mouth, and that's why that's probably the main part of it I didn't like, because he said something like, she has to let everybody know that Cuomo is the answer. Is that what she said? Is that what she said? And Jimmy has, like, I don't know how many, like, subscribers, 340,000, 350,000. He has a lot of views on his video all the time. And, like, they eat up his words, and they basically develop a position based on what he extrapolated from it. And that's what's so dangerous about him.
Yeah.
In some instances, because a lot of times he is on point, and that's why stuff like this surprises me, because he is so concerned with being outraged, he doesn't, like, think of things in a larger scope and look at the broader picture of things, and I think sometimes that takes away from some of his commentary.
We got a comment saying LTMB, you don't understand it, but, well, so you understand it but don't like it, but it's not okay for Dore not to like it and point that out. You're missing a basic point here. You're Democrats, Dore is not. So first of all, we're not Democrats.
And you're missing
yeah,
our point too.
You're missing our point. So Dore is acting like he doesn't understand the game that has to be played for somebody to actually win a race. That's what Dore's acting like. We're not misunderstanding anything. We understand exactly what Ocasio-Cortez is doing when she's asked a question about Andrew Cuomo. She's asked the question so that she can begin fighting with Andrew Cuomo before she is even elected to office. That's what Jake Tabor wanted. Just like you pointed out, that's what he wanted. He wanted an inside fight between Democrats that would only serve to harm Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It wouldn't hurt Andrew Cuomo not one bit. He's already won. He's already an incumbent, and he beat the brakes off of Cynthia Nixon. He's not gonna. If Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez actually engages in the fight, he's not going to lose. Again, he doesn't really need too many progressives to win his race. He doesn't need it. But Alexandria Cortez, she does need centrist Democratic voters to win hers. So at this point, again, how much leverage does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Cynthia Nixon have to push somebody like Andrew Cuomo any further than he has already been pushed? The time to push him was before the primary, not now. She understands that, so do we. There is no leverage right now. All you can do is be like, okay, well, look, what we got to do is we got to fight for our Democrats. Okay, we're trying to overtake the House. We're trying to overtake the Senate. That's job number one. Okay, we got to reclaim the lead. We got to reclaim the leadership. That's what we got to do. Okay, we can't leave it in the hands of Republicans. So when she's talking about that, it's not just about certain Democrats. It's the general Democratic Party, and Andrew Cuomo, he's part of that. Okay, it's not just the U.S. Congress too. It's governorships, which Republicans have a majority control over. So no doubt she doesn't want that to fall in the Republican Party's hands, okay? We're not Democrats, okay? So get that out of your head. I've never described myself as a Democrat. I voted for many Democrats. Doesn't make me a Democrat. It just means that I think this particular candidate is better than this candidate. Maybe sometimes I believe that I really believe in this candidate more so than I believe in this candidate. What have you? It really doesn't matter. I guess the reality here is there is a game that needs to be played. Ocasio-Cortez understands that. Jimmy Dore seems to try to portray the idea that he does not. And he wants to, I guess, attack Ocasio-Cortez from doing what she has to do. We're not talking about a vote in Congress. We're not talking about her voting the wrong way. We're not talking about her actually being in Congress when the Democratic Party has leadership and she's going to advocate for Nancy Pelosi. We're not talking about any of those things because those things would be a step way too damn far. We note that.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not that we don't like it as far as like this particular situation. Like, our not liking it is not about Ocasio-Cortez's I guess endorsement or whatever, if that you can call it that, of Cuomo. When we say we don't like it, we're talking about the state of politics and what needs to be done so you can win. So when we say we don't like it, it's not just a question within this one situation in regard to this one interview. And also, I think it's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit odd that you would reduce Jimmy's commentary to him just not liking it. End of story. Like, it's not just him not liking it that we have a problem with. It's his takeaway. Mm-hmm. So I think you're kind of leaving that out. So he can not like it all he wants. That's not what we were talking about. We're talking about like his takeaway and kind of his, I guess his condemnation and lack of perspective in our minds, his lack of perspective. So it's not just his not liking it that we had an issue with. It's his takeaway, and it's his putting words in the mouth of Ocasio-Cortez, claiming that Ocasio-Cortez suggested that Andrew Cuomo is the answer, something she did not say, and I don't see how anyone could gather that from what she did say. So there's a lot more to this than just Jimmy not liking it. You know what I'm saying? But
when you make a video and then the context of your video too is stating that Ocasio-Cortez endorses Governor Andrew Cuomo, that has a certain ring to it, right? That has a certain like a Elizabeth Warren fervently and just enthusiastically supporting Hillary Clinton. That has that kind of ring to it. Is that what you saw on the video with CNN's Jake Tapper? Was she oh, I'm emphatic with my support of Governor Cuomo? Or was it just like, hey, I'm supporting all Democrats, including Governor Cuomo? That's a ring. Is that even an endorsement? That's just her realizing that, hey, he won the primary. He's going up against a Republican. I'm running as a Democrat. What do you expect me to do here? I don't understand. Look, we have stated many times before, going back to 2016, that we don't believe that there is a progressive takeover of the Democratic Party that can happen, right? And if it does happen, it's not on the horizon. We have stated this many, many times. Now, we have seen far more progressive wins throughout the country than I think we anticipated. It still doesn't amount to, like, we actually see, like, change coming. Like, we can even see the light right now. We can't. But they are encouraging. No doubt. A win like Ocasio-Cortez is definitely encouraging. Even Cynthia Nixon, her showing, it's slightly encouraging, okay? So I'm not going to say we're even beginning to get there yet, but it's like we see some notable wins. We see some progress, okay? That's all we can actually ask for at this point, to keep progressing forward. And so I think with the help of somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I think, hey, you got a shot in hell, okay? There's no way that we can see it yet, but still, if you want to get there, you need somebody like her in office, and you don't need her attacking the incumbent governor when he just won his primary.
And
for what?
Again, like I said, like, none of us are in the positions she is in. She is going to, well, if she wins, she is ultimately going to have to do what, Will? Work with him.
Yes.
None of us are in that position.
Nope.
So I just think it's just kind of, I don't know. It just strikes me as very armchairy.
It does.
It just strikes me as very armchairy.
Again, like I said, it's like, hey, we're severely outnumbered. We progressives, we're severely outnumbered by the many of them that always vote for the establishment Democrat. But hey, you need to cater to the way you need to cater to the wishes. Like we want to see you operate in this way, in this particular way. If you don't, you're not a true progressive. You don't have our support anymore. Sorry, bye.
So basically, what you're saying is, they're doing the work for the Democrats. That's basically what you're doing, because you are like creating this like exit of support.
That's right.
For the people that you claim to want in there.
Yeah.
And how can they actually get in there without, I don't know, like worming their way in somehow. Smooshing their way in somehow. They got to get in there first.
Yep. And I remember stating in 2016, at the end, when Hillary Clinton lost the election, now's not the time to be like, nah, I told you so. See, Hillary Clinton's a loser. We told you all along she was going to lose. See, she's a loser. See, your candidate. That was not the time to go after all these Hillary Clinton supporters. That was the time to actually engage them and be like, hey, look, we got a goal. I was trying to tell you during the election. Now we differed on who we supported, but hey, this is the mission at hand, man. We gotta support progressing this nation forward. These are the things that we want. Can you get on board? Can we work together? Can we do this? That was the time to actually come together. So,
all right, Will. Now you're acting like Jimmy. Now you're being like Jimmy, and kind of like how everybody is kind of defining this and framing this as a ringing endorsement. I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit overboard to say that she is bowing down to fascists. That's just as bad as Jimmy saying she's been co-opted. Like what about her policies and about her outlook has changed? That's how we view somebody, right? Nothing about her outlook has changed. And I think, like you pointed out during the primaries, and we pointed this out multiple times during the show, probably like three or four times, where Cuomo like somehow magically pushed some progressive policies during the primaries. Now, what made him do that?
Exactly.
What made him do that? You know what I'm saying? He got pushed that way. So you're going to say that like Ocasio-Cortez can't do the same thing?
That's what I'm saying, man. But this was we've seen this before as it relates to the Democratic Party. Like I said when I opened the story, whenever Jimmy Dore talks about the Democratic Party, it comes swinging across your face like a brick was thrown at you. But sometimes he does it in a very disingenuous way, and I think that's what that's what it felt like for me.
She didn't even say anything really positive about him.
No.
It's just that like something that was interpreted as positive automatically to Jimmy, like he interprets it in the worst kind of way. Like, wait a second, Cuomo is a Democrat. I know you didn't say something positive about him specifically, but you said his name and you said you'd be supporting him. So now you are just as evil as him and as evil as the Democratic Party. Now, how is that not crazy?
All right, and you know what? He also said something about Bernie. You remember he said,
"Oh yeah, dog." Yeah.
You know, we'll get into that later. We'll leave that there. Maybe we can get to that video a little bit later. But we have some other things that we want to get to. We don't want to leave off without addressing them because this is Thursday. We're not going to be on here until Tuesday. So let's get to let's get to Lyndo Jones.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss that. All right. I think I have the video. Okay. On November 8th, 2017, on November 8th, 2017, a black man named Lyndo Jones from the Dallas, Texas area was shot multiple times by a police officer who believed that the man was stealing a vehicle. Officer Derek Wiley was responding to a 911 call about somebody breaking into a truck and setting off his alarm. Officer Wiley arrived at the location and found Lyndo Jones in the truck. One fact that we should point out is that the truck actually belonged to Lyndo Jones. Something that Officer Wiley may not have known at the time, but it did. So, as you'll see from the body cam footage, Officer Wiley's actions were not justifiable.
Put your hands up, or I will shoot you. Get out the truck and get on the ground. Get on the ground. I don't give a about it being wet. Get on the ground. Put your hands on your head. Turn over on your stomach. Turn over. Stay on the ground before I shoot you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm on the ground, man. I'm on the ground, man. I'm on the ground, bro.
Put your hands behind your back.
I can't do
Put your hands behind your back. Yes, you can.
Bro, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, man? What is all up, bro?
Hey,
Man, hold up. Stop me, bro. Y'all don't do
451, shot fired. Shot fired. Get on the ground. Stay down.
I'm on the ground.
Stay on the ground. Shot fired.
I'm on the ground.
I will shoot you again.
I'm on the ground, bro.
Stay on the ground. Put your hands behind your back.
So thankfully, Lyndo Jones was not killed in this incident. He did survive it. This was horrific. This was disgusting, abuse of power. As you can see, he is following directions. Lyndo Jones. He is following directions. He gets on the ground. He gets out of the vehicle, his own vehicle, gets on the ground, and the point in which he turned over, you can see Officer Wiley start to put pressure into his back. And he's still saying things like, I'm going to shoot you. You move, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you. So that's when Lyndo Jones turns over. Because like there's certain points in a human being's body where there are pressure points, where like you can really exert a lot of pressure and pain into somebody. That's what it seemed like Officer Wiley was trying to do to his back. He was like trying to put a lot of pressure like with his fingers into his back. So at somewhere around that point, that's when Lyndo Jones turns over and he runs. He's scared to death. He runs. And Officer Wiley shoots him in the back. Shoots him while he's running away from Officer Wiley. Now, a lawyer for Officer Wiley, now former Officer Wiley, because he was fired, a lawyer for him, he said that Officer Wiley was forced to make a split-second decision after being led to believe that the suspect was armed. He thought that the suspect was burglarizing the truck, and see that bit of information, I'm willing to believe that because again, this was a 911 call. Somebody said that somebody was kind of behaving erratically. I think there might have been like an alarm going off, maybe something like that. But anyway, you're coming onto the scene. Maybe you think that somebody is burglarizing the truck. Cool. That's your first suspicion. But Officer Wiley got Lyndo Jones on the ground. I didn't see any evidence of a firearm or anything.
That was in his imagination. And I think in a lot of cases, and this is one of them, cops are conflating reasonable suspicion with imagination. You know what I'm saying?
Like what they want to believe.
Or like what they think or imagine. Like, why would you can't approach a situation like that. You definitely can't approach a situation just imagining what someone has or doesn't have. But like one of the justifications the officer used, I guess, for how he approached the situation, how the situation ultimately unfolded, was that Jones didn't give him a chance to perform an investigation. I would say the officer has an interesting way of starting the investigation. Like you said, he's on there on a call. Fine. Get him out the truck.
Right.
But put your hands up, oh, I'm going to shoot you, is an interesting way to start an investigation.
Right.
That sounds to me like he already is already 3 steps into the investigation and determined that this truck is already stolen,
right,
and he is the thief. Jones is the thief. Now, actually, I have actually seen police officers approach situations just like this, because I watch Cops. I watch Metro PD as well.
Right.
And even when they think a car is stolen, you know what they do? They walk up and say, hey, is this your car, sir or ma'am? Or if somebody's loitering outside a house and this looks suspicious, they say, hey, do you live at this residence? Regardless of whether they think this person is causing a disturbance or stealing, they say,
how much evidence, information they already have.
They say, hey, is this your car? That's what they ask. See, like, again, I understand that he got a call, like you said. Get him out the car. Hey, exit the car. But then the next question should be, hey, is this your car?
Let me see some ID.
Like, is this your car? That would have eliminated all this. Because guess what? If the guy says yes, what would be the next step?
Let me see some ID.
Okay,
let me see your registration. Let me see your insurance.
Registration and license. And guess what the registration and license would show? That would show his information.
Right.
And then he would probably discover that, he's having trouble with his alarm system.
Yeah.
It's just that he had other options there. And again, we understand it's a 911 call, but I have friends that work dispatch too, and they get 911 calls all the time. And they have told me that they take discretion with all 911 calls, not just them, but the officers that they send out. And the officers go out there and they still, I guess, observe the situation for how it appears to them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what the 911 call said. That's just what somebody thinks it is.
Every 911 call is not an emergency call.
And it's not necessarily accurately portraying what is actually going on.
Right.
And
that's why it's incumbent on the police officers that's responding to the call to kind of ask some questions, actually get a bearing on what's going on here.
Actually,
is this a time where I should be drawing my weapon? Is this a time where this dude should be arrested or something like that? Like, it shouldn't be automatically that you come up onto the situation and get out the car, get on the ground, I'm about to handcuff you. If you move, I'm gonna shoot you. Imagine if that was the behavior of every cop that was responding to a call. Really?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a reliable way to approach a situation. Like, if there is a thought that someone might possibly have a weapon, why assume it's a gun? Do you see what I'm saying? Like that's what he said, right? Mm-hmm. He thought he had, I thought he was going to kill me.
Yeah.
Now
that was at court. He said, I thought he was going to kill me.
So okay, that leads me to believe that he thought Jones had a gun. Mm-hmm. But again, where does that come from? Why would he think Jones had a gun if there was no signs that showed he had a gun? That's because it was in his imagination.
Yeah.
But again, if he felt that Jones may have had something on him, why assume it was a gun? I can only, I guess, based on what he said, based on what the officer said in court, that only leads me to believe that he thought Jones had a gun. But again, since Jones did not have a gun, and since there was really nothing visually there that the officer could point to, I guess, that would suggest that he had a gun, why couldn't it be some other weapon? Why couldn't it be a taser that he could have imagined or thought that Jones had? Why wasn't it a switchblade? Why wasn't it scissors, a knife, a blender, a corkscrew, a spork, or, I don't know, a can opener?
The lead prosecutor, whose name is Brian Mitchell, he told jurors on Tuesday that Wiley was especially unreasonable in his thought that he thought he was going to kill him and that he was armed and that it was a split-second decision and he had to shoot him. So he has already been charged. The court trial, the trial has been going on this week. He has been charged with 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. So the possible sentences that he can face is a minimum of 5 years in prison and all the way to life in prison. And the district attorney, Faith Johnson, she has previously said that her office is targeting the mandatory punishment. So that would mean life imprisonment. We know how these things go because we've talked about how when it comes to an officer actually being held accountable, there are several steps along the way. Now we are at this one of the last steps where this officer, he has been fired. He has been brought up on charges. And now it's I don't know that it's in the hands of the jury yet. I believe the trial is still underway. So at some point it will be in the hands of the jury, and they will make their decision on if he's guilty or not. But that won't be the last step. The last step will be, what his sentence is going to be. So I'm looking, what I hope happens is that he is not going to get a 5-year minimum sentence. I do hope that he gets something more significant than that, because we know that it's going to be cut in at least half because of probation. This was a heinous attack. Like you were talking about with 911 operators and even cops just arriving on the scene. You can't just take the word of somebody that dials into the 911, the operator line. You can't just believe everything that they have to say. There's investigating that needs to be done.
So he's allowing, I guess he's allowing that to shape how he approaches. He's allowing that 911 call to shape how he approaches the situation. Right. Of course, the 911 call, I guess, places a possibility in his head, but that doesn't necessarily reflect what's going on in reality. And like I said, I've seen officers approach situations like that. So there was no excuse why this officer couldn't have approached it like that as well. One thing that I noticed, and I asked you about it because I was like, I wanted to be sure. Did you see any blue lights?
I did not.
You didn't see any blue lights. You saw a spotlight.
Saw a spotlight. And that's one thing that Lyndo Jones stated too. He said that he didn't even know if it was a cop or not because he was being blinded by the spotlight.
And that's happened to me before. Mm-hmm. So it's like if it's dark and a light is shining in your face and someone's yelling commands, not only commands, but they're going to shoot you, you're probably going to be a bit disoriented and not really focused on what they're actually wearing. And if you don't see any blue lights, you might not make the connection. So some guy is screaming to get out of the vehicle and get down on the ground. You might think you're being robbed.
Yeah, it's possible. Look, we want police officers to be safe, no doubt, because any call could turn out to be a deadly call. We understand that. But the first step in your investigation is not freeze, get down on the ground or I'm going to shoot you. That's not the first step here. There was no even in the call. There was no talk about there being a firearm, a weapon, or anything like that. That's just something, like you said, was in his imagination.
Again, I think you can go into situations like that as a law enforcement officer and consider that a possibility.
No doubt. Take precautions. Yeah. No doubt.
I'm not saying
Protect
it's not possible, but then when possibility turns into imagination, and then your imagination turns into reality
and allows you to shoot somebody,
it allows you to react, you react to that, then we have a problem. Again, I have no problem with police officers going into situations with precaution and understanding there's a possibility that someone might have a weapon. But
yeah, this was way too far. Fortunately, he was fired, and we will see what happens at the trial. We will see if he is ultimately punished for his actions. So let's get to the next story. Ron DeSantis' campaign for governor of Florida cannot shed racial controversies. First, on the night that DeSantis won his Republican primary, and on the same night, of course, Andrew Gillum won the Democratic primary. DeSantis appeared on Fox News to express that voting for Gillum would be monkeying up, or it would monkey up the progress that has been made in Florida under the current governor, Rick Scott. Now, monkey up. Obvious racist language. I've stated multiple times before that this country has a very vile history when associating animals, especially monkeys or chimpanzees or what have you, with black people. And that's something that I'm sure Ron DeSantis understands as well. So that was just the first instance that happened. But there have been multiple ones. We're not going to get into every single one, but this is just the latest one that has been affiliated with Ron DeSantis' campaign. So Stephen Allenbeck, who is a Republican activist and has contributed close to $23,000 to DeSantis for years. On Twitter, Allenbick had some derogatory things to say about former President Barack Obama. Allenbick responded to a tweet from the Republican National Committee that read, quote, "Without a hint of irony, Obama smears President Trump's 63 million Republican voters as divisive and resentful." Now, Allenbick responded to that message from the RNC, and I quote, this is what his quote, okay? "Fuck the Muslim nigger." Now, you can't get any more clear than that. He wasn't ambiguous in his language. I think it's very easy to understand exactly the feeling that he was trying to convey there.
That's pretty impressive.
Are you clear?
Oh, I'm clear, and that's pretty impressive to just qualify what kind of nigger he is. No, I'm dead serious. I really like that. That's like
right.
That's some new stuff.
Yeah,
I really like how you qualified.
Yeah, not just a regular nigger.
Muslim.
A Muslim nigger.
Oh, yeah.
So again, that was even more clarification. You're not just a regular nigga, you're a Muslim nigga.
So
okay?
you that next level of niggatry. You on that next level of niggatry right
yes,
there.
Definitely. So of course, this is the internet. Okay? This is Twitter. Of course eyes are watching. Now, I have never heard of Stephen Allenbick before, but of course somebody has. And they saw, I guess, his tweet. And actually, again, this wasn't on his particular page, but this was on the RNC post. So I guess if anybody's following the RNC post and they see somebody like, see some comment like this, that's gonna draw some eyes, and then you figure out who this guy is. Hey, okay, we got a story here. Right. So this comes to the attention of Mark Caputo with Politico. And so Mark Caputo called up Allenbick to talk about this. And at first, Allenbick kind of he tried to be evasive, or he tried to play stupid. Actually, Mark Caputo, he said something like, "Hey, I want to let you know that I saw something you said on Twitter using the N-word." And so Allenbick said, "What, knucklehead?" I used the N. Oh, I forgot to use the K. Right?
See. Yo, man, this mug is making it hard for me to be mad at him, dog. He said some despicable things, but it's really hard to be mad at this dude now.
Yeah, man.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Try to play it off, man.
Upgrade your racism, dog. This is exactly what I was talking about, man. Gosh.
So
he got to be funny.
Yeah. So he tried to play that off, and then Mark Caputo, he said, "Nah. You gonna force me to say the word, really?" And so he said, "I got, I read your response to the RNC post. It says, fuck the Muslim nigger." And then Allenbick said, "No, I don't think I would say that. I definitely wouldn't write it. No, I wouldn't say that." And then Mark Caputo responded, "I'm looking at it right now." And then that's when Allenbick was like, "Really? I did? Well, okay. Yeah, I guess that's possible." So then after that, that's when Allenbick goes into, I guess, a longer explanation. So this is what he said. Allenbick continues. He said, "I could have been seriously pissed off at the moment in time. I grew up in the New York in the 50s. We were the kikes, they were the niggers, they were the goyim, and those were the spics." So Mark Caputo responds, "I'm Italian. I would have been a WAP." Allenbick says, "Oh yeah, you are a WAP. I forgot about you guys." But in all seriousness, that's just the way it was. So somebody like Chris Rock can get up on stage and use the word, and there's no problem. But some white guy says it, and he's a racist. Really?
Yo, I like how he just said, "You know what? You're right. You would have been a WAP, my man." I forgot about that, man. I gotta put that in my my racist terminology satchel. Golly, I missed it.
But
I missed that one.
Look, it's funny. Like, man, this is funny for so many reasons. But like the last comment that he says, he brings up Chris Rock. Hey, the comedian Chris Rock, the black guy. He can say it, but I can't say it because I'm a white guy. Now, okay, now let's just look at that for a second. Chris Rock, I don't remember Chris Rock like saying it in a disparaging way. I don't think he's pointing out people in the crowd like, fucking nigger. See, look at you, nigger. He's not saying it like that, right? Like a lot of times people, there's certain people that use like nigga, right? And it's in terms of endearment. It's something that's, you know, if you feel comfortable with somebody, you say it, you know, like, hey, what's up, man? What's up, dude? You know, that's my dude. That's my partner right there,
That's a
right?
replacement for those words.
Yes, that's a replacement.
My man, dude, bruh.
Yes.
Homie, whatever
Now,
you say.
Was Stephen Allenby trying to use that word in the same way? Or did he use it to denigrate Barack Obama? Did he use it to actually assault Barack Obama in a very interesting way too? Like, if you want to say that Barack Obama is a bad person, if you want to say that he was a horrible president, if you want to say that he's a horrible father or he's nothing for a leader, cool. There's many words that you can use. I just use a few of them. But for some reason, you picked the word nigger and you qualified it, like you said, Muslim nigger. So it wasn't a term of endearment. You're not jealous of you're not jealous of Chris Rock being able to use it because he's a black guy and be able to call his friends nigga, or actually be up on the stage with a mic actually saying nigga in his act. No. You want to actually be racist, use the word in a racist way, and you don't want to be called on it.
And of course, he's right. There are double standards because there are certain words that have multiple usages. There are a lot of words in the English language that have multiple uses. Mm-hmm. So of course they're going to be double standards because of those multiple usages.
Right.
It's not that complicated. You know what I'm saying?
It's not complicated.
It's not complicated at all.
Yeah.
It's not complicated.
But again, so of course the campaign of Ron DeSantis, they had to say something about this, of course, because it does tie to the campaign and Ron DeSantis. And in a statement, the DeSantis campaign spokesman, Stephen Lawson, he said, "We've said it before, we'll say it again. We adamantly denounce this sort of disgusting rhetoric. Even though your candidate did use the term monkey up as it relates to Andrew Gillum."
So this is not just a supporter, this is a donor.
Yeah.
You know, if you have to
a notable donor.
A notable donor.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah, not just somebody
like
that
it's like
gave you like $200.
There are some instances where you can't control what your donors say.
Yes.
And I can see candidates looking past a lot of this stuff just to get that money.
Right.
But this is not a regular dude. He's not just a donor. He's close to the campaign and sets up events in cases for DeSantis. So it's just amazing, like in cases where a campaign, in this case DeSantis's, has to apologize for vile hatred expressed by his donors, his close donors. Shouldn't that give you an indication about DeSantis?
And another thing, this is not just in a vacuum. This is not just one isolated event. We're talking about there's been at least 5 different instances where there's some racial controversy as it relates to the DeSantis campaign. Something that has happened that is connected to his campaign, and it is disparaging to people of color. It is disparaging to Andrew Gillum because he is a person of color. So that by itself, if this was just a lone act, maybe you can put it aside. But when it's connected to the other instances, well, that suggests there's a pattern.
Then the campaign commercial with
exactly.
building a wall with his toddler.
Yep. Look, man,
it's amazing how like politicians like this, and he's not the only one. This is just a good example we're using. You know what I'm saying, because it's a current race going on.
Right.
But like you mingle with a certain crowd, like what do you expect? You mingle with a certain crowd, then obviously that's going to like influence not just how you think, it's going to definitely rub off on you. Yeah. And you're not just mingling with that crowd just because they're donors. There's something about this crowd that relates to you other than just the money.
And like, it's not just being influenced by the crowd too. You tend to associate yourselves with people with like minds.
Like minds. And like obviously like it's going to follow you. You know, you can apologize up and down, but it's not like, oh darn it. It's not like, oh golly geez, like we didn't know. You're so, oh golly, like how could we like have been around a guy like this?
Like, this was surprising to you, right? Like you never heard none of this before. Him actually being able to respond to a post on Twitter publicly. Fuck that Muslim nigger.
Publicly.
You've never heard anything about that before. You've never heard anything that is comparable to that.
Basically, you know what you was getting into. And you were okay with it. But
he's been contributing to you for years. You never heard nothing.
But see, in this day and age, everything is out there. So you're going to be forced to apologize constantly for things and forced to account for things that you should have obviously seen. But it's not about him not seeing it. It's not about DeSantis and his campaign not seeing it. It's just not caring.
Yep.
And being associated in like-mindedness with these type of people.
Like his statement about how we denounce that sort of disgusting rhetoric. See, that means nothing to me because
word.
See, you already had a connection with this guy. I'm not going to believe that you didn't know what this guy was about. I'm not going to believe that at all. So just the connection itself tells me a lot about him. About Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, that's it.
Also Rick Scott, he had a connection to this guy too. I don't think he had the same connection.
Voldemort?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Alan Bick, he's donated to Rick Scott as well. I don't think as much. I don't even think it's anywhere near as much, but I believe that Rick Scott's campaign has said that they're donating that money to charity now.
Yes.
So they're trying to distance themselves from this guy.
It's nothing like racist dollars going to charity. Don't you love that? I need to see what charity they're going to first. It should go to like Black Lives Matter or something.
Yeah, NAACP or something like that.
NAACP.
Something, right?
Something.
Yeah.
Like Black Panthers.
Too far. Too far. You ain't going that far, boy. All right. We're gonna open this up for callers. Just see if we have anybody that wants to, let their voice be heard on the show. This would definitely be the time to do it. The number to call in and be on LTMB Live is 669-900-6833. Definitely want to hear from you. We've covered a few, several topics today, and a lot of them definitely are very important. So if you have any feelings about them, definitely let us know. Yeah, we can highlight some contributors.
Yeah, I've seen some come through, man.
Yeah. All right, so we have Jose Garcia in the super chat. And his message is blah, blah, blah. Hold on, let me move back. All right. We shouldn't even be talking about whether or not she should be fired. That should be automatic. We need to be talking about prison time. And of course he's talking about Officer Amber Geiger.
Yeah, right.
No doubt. I totally agree with you. The firing should come automatically. Hugh Edwards, you two young men give me hope. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that support. No doubt, man. And Angie Roden, she said, I'm like 37 minutes behind. Amazing show, especially the Ford Kavanaugh segment. Keep up the incredible work.
Actually, I think she's on time.
Yeah, you might be.
You might actually be on time, Angie.
Yeah, because we were like about what?
35.
30, yeah, about
35.
Like
yeah, 35 minutes behind because we got the 500 error.
Yeah.
Some 500 server error trying to go live. We couldn't go live for 30 minutes. So
exactly.
Appreciate that. Those contributors have increased our net worth significantly. See, and they can see what's going through. Like the people who are watching the show and on the chat, y'all can see what's going through. So y'all can see how much. So that should tell you what our net worth is.
Yeah, that ain't elevated. No net worth whatsoever.
Like quadruple.
Yeah, that's just going into the pool. Because really, like I said, we're not making a profit on this right now. It's just going into the pool so we can use that money to better this program. So, like I said, we have multiple improvements along the way. We're gonna have to get rid of this green screen. Gonna have to get rid of it. We have figured it out that it can't go anymore. So we're gonna have to get some kind of backdrop or something like that. Because with the new software that we're gonna be going to, for some reason, it's better. Overall, it's much better. One thing about it though, the green screen element, the chroma key, boy, not good. Not good at all. Not
Usually,
good.
like the chroma key element is more compatible, expansive, and user friendly when the software is expensive.
Yeah,
usually that's the case. The higher you go up, things like chroma key, like
it should be simple.
Like I noticed that with like Adobe, Adobe Premiere, Adobe like After Effects, those programs, dog. It's like works like a charm.
And we're on free software right now, and it works like a charm. It's very simple, but for some reason it's not simple. All right, so we see that we have a few callers, and oh my bad. Yeah. All right, so let's just set this up. All right, put yours on. All right, so let's get to the callers here. All right. See, I always doing this like my Matthew McConaughey, man. All right, let me cut this off. All right. I think we have. I think we're all good now. Let me mute everybody real quick. All right. First caller we have is coming from the 704. Caller, you're on the air live with LTMB. Can you hear us?
Yeah, what's up, man? It's Will from North Carolina.
What's going on, Will? How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Good, man.
Yeah, we straight.
We making it.
That's what's up. How'd the hurricane go?
Didn't really do much here. Just a little bit of wind. There was some rain, but central South Carolina didn't really feel any effect.
Yeah, this was like a very mild thunderstorm, and the rains were not as heavy as they estimated. They said like 5.5 inches.
Yeah.
Not even sure we got one because it was just drizzling, and it was on and off drizzling and not continuous. Even the on the coast, they didn't get as much. Even the northern coast, like where Myrtle Beach is, in northern Myrtle Beach, it was rain and heavier rain.
Oh, really?
Nothing like, I mean, they got like 50 mile an hour winds, but nothing that was unbearable. There were like a few.
Yeah, it looks like it looked like where it touched down. It was pretty rough there, but yeah, I think it was like a Category 1 by the time it hit, really. So, I mean, it was about the same as you described there here, except for maybe a little more rain, and it wasn't bad here either. So, kind of got lucky, I guess. So that's good.
So what you got for us, Will?
Oh man, well, one thing I want to say about the Cortez situation, I don't see why. Okay, if she's supported by a certain group of people who voted for her, and they voted for her for a certain reason because they thought that she supported something, then I would think that she would have the obligation to stand what she purports to support, rather than to give so much support to somebody who said that her nomination, or the success she's had, was a fluke, and somebody who's definitely against any sort of progressive. I mean, I believe that's the words he used, was that it showed a disdain for progressivism.
Okay,
and, I mean
does anyone in their right mind who is a progressive, whether it be you or anybody in the chat, anybody who's watching the show, including us, I think we can all agree that was kind of it was very distasteful, and it was kind of a slap in the face. Like, nobody's disagreeing with that. You're making a completely different argument, and like there's no question in my mind that Ocasio-Cortez probably took everything in her power to not lash out at that. What we're trying to say is that she can't do that at this point. And what I want to ask you is, how does that one thing that she did on State of the Union, State of the Union, Jake Tapper, how does that like equate to going back on her beliefs or going back on what she represents? That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you jump from how does that jump from like how does that jump to that? That's my question. Like, how does that signify that? All you're saying is, I don't feel good about this, therefore she's gone like back on what she represents, her policies, her platform. I'm trying to figure out what part of her platform did she abandon.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if I can respond. Yeah, no, I hear you. First of all, like me personally, I don't think she did. I think she's doing exactly what I thought she was. I think she's just, I think it was just a little bit of slick language that had people believing that she was truly a progressive anyway. I don't think she is. I think if anybody felt that what she did on you know, what we're talking about here on State of the Union or whatever, if people see that as different from what she had purported, you know, I'm not surprised because of all the things that I think got jumped to the conclusion about her in the first place. So, you know, like I said, personally, I mean, this is not a surprise.
Let me ask you a question, Will.
What I would expect to see out of her. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Will.
But I can't. But there is one thing. If you let me say this real quick. If she is what everybody said she was, then she doesn't have an obligation, and it's not very tactful to defend him. Go ahead.
Do you believe that there are any progressives that are Democrats? And what do you think a real progressive looks like? What do they do?
Okay. Well, let me say one thing. This is the best, one of the best I can give, examples I can give of somebody who I believe is being true to what they say they are. But you have to go outside of this country. I'm talking about Jeremy Corbyn in the UK.
But
okay, he didn't make any.
You got to stay within this country, man. Like, our politics are different than other countries.
Well, to give of course, but to give an example to answer your question, I just want to point out that this even goes to why I never believed Ocasio-Cortez, is because you're going to have any politician is going to there's going to be things that they say directly, and then there's going to be parts of the way they speak and the things that they say that aren't direct statements about what their platform is, that give you an idea of who they really are and where they really stand. And people often call it dog whistling. And maybe so, because we've become so easily brainwashed or tricked by language. But within this country, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't pay that much attention either. It's so dumb. Like, the way I look at it is this: when you're in high school, you vote for a class president and stuff like that. And you have to remember, when you're in school, not just high school, but when you're in school, that is a part of human conditioning to get you conditioned for the type of society you're going to have when you're an adult. And I think that what happens in a school election and a high school election has no more bearing on who actually has the power and who actually runs things and who actually makes decisions than we do as an adults. And we have with this little government election, president, governor, blah, blah, blah system that we have. And I think that we've put way too much stock in these elected people in this whole shit show. It's just a show, man. I mean, and we're not. Yeah, go ahead.
This is the thing, though. Like, my feeling is that the progressive that's in your head, and that's in a lot of people's head, the people that are saying that maybe this isn't surprising from Alexandria Cortez, or you want to see somebody, like you said, like knocking over the tables and stuff like that. Those candidates,
no, I didn't say
historically,
that.
no, I'm just saying that's the way Mike framed it. That earlier, that's the way Mike framed it. Like you want somebody that really engages in truth, you know, and you don't want them playing the game. Like historically, those candidates do not win. So that's all we're saying here. Like our political situation is different than other countries, and in this situation, like you have to play the game to win. And does
that make it defensible though? I mean, it's not about winning. Sometimes it's about
absolutely. No, it absolutely makes it.
It's not about winning, Will.
Yeah, because if you actually want people that are fighting for you within Congress, then they got to get in somehow.
Support somebody who. So I'm going to support somebody who only wants to win. That's a very selfish.
No, that's not what we said. That's not what we said.
They just want to win. Like
that's not that. I think that's not what we said. We're saying that there are certain things that they may have to do or say to get their foot in the door so that they can win. Now. We could argue up and down and say that, well, they're just trying to get up in there and do the same thing and not change anything. That's a pretty decent and typical argument to make. But I don't think you can just project that argument onto every situation. And if you didn't believe what Ocasio-Cortez said in her words, like during her campaign,
I think that's what's happening with Ocasio-Cortez. That's what she's doing. She's trying to get her foot in the door. She's trying to win, so she used some progressive language to get her foot in the door when she's just a elitist. I mean,
okay.
And people are going around acting like people are also like have this narrative that she's some kind of from the hood or some crap, and she's going to blank on somebody. She had to hold herself back from punching somebody in the face. Come on, man, that's bull. So
okay, Will, got to cut you off right there.
Yeah.
Like there is certain beliefs that other people have that you don't agree with, which have zero to do on whether she's going to push and whether she's going to push politics or not. It doesn't really matter what you feel about her persona. That's all that matters. So again,
I don't care about her persona.
Will.
But you're putting words in my mouth. Don't do that, man. You ain't got to do that.
Dude. I am not putting words in your mouth. You're the one who said people are saying she's from the hood and she's going to do this. That's what you said. That's what you said. Okay, then. So I'm not putting words in your mouth.
But she lied. But I'm saying she did lie. She did lie about her.
She actually is from there. She actually is from there.
And guess what? I don't care. That doesn't matter. What I'm saying is all you're saying is you don't care for some persona that people have created.
I'm saying she lied about her economic situation and had people saying that.
No, she did not. She actually lives in the place that she is from right now. It doesn't matter that she didn't spend the entirety of her childhood there. She has been there for years, and she still had family there.
I didn't say she lied about where she lived. I said she lied about her economic situation.
Well, that
to get support from a group of from progressives. And the progressives that think you have to be poor, that you have to be part of the proletariat, I don't agree with that either. But I'm saying that she did do that to gain support, so that was a lot. That was dishonest.
All right. Well, we gotta move. Look, we gotta move on because we got this call line filling up. We got people calling in. So if we got some time, we'll definitely come back to you. But we got to move on for right now. So thank you for calling in.
Okay.
All right, man. All right, we're going to go to 770. That's the next caller. You're on the air live with LTMB.
770, you're on the line with
we
hear the background noise, so you're probably just waiting on us to come and call upon you. That's what most people do when they're on hold, so we understand. But if you can't hear us, we're waiting on. Yeah, there's Tony.
Yes, Tony.
What's going on, Tony?
Yeah, I was listening on the computer, and there's a delay, obviously, like almost
no
45 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was calling in. First, I wanted to comment on Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's still in the fucking news, man. It's been like 2 years late, still in the news.
Tony can't even say her name without laughing.
I know, man.
He can't even finish her name without laughing.
It just produces that.
Yeah, it just makes me think back to like when Michael Dukakis lost? How long did he stay in the news? Like, I never heard nothing else of him again after he lost. What was that, 88? It was all about Bush. Never heard anything about Michael Dukakis ever again. You know what I'm saying?
Jimmy Carter too. When he lost to Reagan.
Yep.
He lost to Reagan.
I mean, it was done. It was over. You don't hear about
back to
these
Kerry
fools
in
no more.
2004.
Oh yeah, Kerry too.
Yeah, Kerry, after he lost 2004, gone. It's like, what in the world? Why are these people hanging around for fucking after they lose? They still all trying to be relevant, or they are relevant in some kind of ridiculous way.
She's ambitious, man. She's an ambitious woman.
And it's not just her. I'll give it up. It's not just her. Like what's her name? Sarah Palin's like always in the news for like another 4 years after at least I can see why McCain was still in the news, because he was a senator, but she was still in the news. Like, what the fuck? She lost. She's not holding any position, no office or nothing, but she's still in the news. I'm like, wow.
I think her stupidity was a draw.
True that. Not exactly. Sarah Palin's stupidity was a draw, and the fact that she had a reality show.
Yeah. Her children.
So she has a lot of outlets to go through. Hillary Clinton, not so much.
Yeah. And plus, Hillary, I'm almost positive Hillary Clinton's a super delegate right now. But
oh Lord, yeah, you know that's right.
But I also wanted to jump to the conversation about y'all had about Jimmy Dore. Mm-hmm. Well, something relating to Jimmy Dore at least. A little bit ago, Jimmy tweeted, maybe 2 or 3 days ago, he tweeted. He was talking about Fred Hampton, and Fred Hampton was hooking up with white supremacists to trying to change the script, and it's like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Fred Hampton never worked with those fools, dude. He worked with the Redneck Revolt. Those guys were like the antithesis of the fucking white supremacists. Like, what the hell is Jimmy Dore talking about?
Basically, the equivalent of what you would call abolitionists.
Yeah. Jimmy Dore's losing his fucking mind, and that is part of what comes into when Jimmy be taking these hot takes without really looking into what he's talking about. It's like, Jimmy, you don't know the fuck you're talking about, dude.
He's extreme, man. He's. I mean, like, after the 2016 election, we saw people, either you stayed right here where you already were. Some people went to the way extreme over here, like a H.J. Goodman type, like the people with the whole walkout campaign, stuff like that. But then Jimmy, he's on the other side of the extreme, to the point that anything regarding the Democratic Party, like, sometimes he kind of like reshapes it to make it more damaging, and
it's not necessary. And unfortunately, like, he is a human being, so he may fall into the trap of looking at how his show is produced and looking at how his show comes off. So he's going to do a lot of things for clicks, and that is very hard to avoid, especially when you have such a big audience. You have to maintain that, and you have to kind of look for ways to maintain that. And whether it's done like purposefully or not, it doesn't matter. I just think it's a natural process of being popular and having a voice and having a channel. You know what I'm saying? Because we go through the same thing too. Like, we have to pick and choose what we talk about, how we talk about it. You see what I'm saying? So we don't do things for clicks, because there's a bigger purpose here. We have a responsibility. Again, and to be honest, we're not in Jimmy's position. He has 399,000 subscribers, according to somebody in the chat. So I don't know what happened if we get that big. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I'm not gonna.
I mean, it just comes to a point to where it's like you trying to, you telling the truth you giving your point of view to you just lying about shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I don't think we would go that far.
No.
But
I know you have to,
but obviously
kind of play to your,
we do, again,
to your audience.
Yes,
to some degree.
We see what you have to see, kind of what people, I guess what people have, I guess, interest in. Yeah. Like, you keep your ear to the street.
But there's something different to be said about when you actually changing.
You distort stuff.
Yeah. I mean, when we go through what we're gonna talk about on any show, of course, there are many things that we can talk about on the show, but there's some things that's like, you know what, look, that's not going to be interesting at all. That's not going to be interesting. Like, but not much we have to say about that. But so
there's enough like to talk about, and there's enough substantive things to talk about, and there's enough like meat to certain issues to where we don't have to like create them or add to them in an unnecessary way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was just trying to give Jimmy the benefit of the doubt and like trying to put ourselves in that position and see like could we ever do that? And based on what we do now, based on how we approach topics now, I don't see it. Again, I was just trying to give Jimmy the benefit of the doubt for being big and popular, and maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe his approach is being shaped by that. But I just think that too many things he does is deliberate. You know what I'm saying? And not just a mistake.
Yeah. Did you see Benjamin Dixon, his latest episode? He talked about Jimmy for like almost 40 minutes.
I haven't. I've kind of dropped off of Benjamin for about a few weeks. I got to get back into him. I listen to him in spurts. I'll just leave him on play, his podcast on play for a few days. But yeah, I dropped off a bit, so I got to get back into it. So yeah.
But that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to talk about, man.
All right, we appreciate you calling in, Tony.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, you too. All right, we got 617 on the line. Call, you're on the air live with LTMB.
What's going on? It's Jay from Boston.
What's going on, Jay?
Can you hear me good? I wanted to hop in on the AOC discussion because this is really pissing me off. And I do think AOC, now that she probably needs to sit back and relax a little bit. She probably doesn't need to do so many appearances because they are trying to catch her at every turn, it seems to me. So she probably could relax, but I mean, she's the only one with like national attention that is speaking about these issues. So like, she's in a bad spot because like, if she doesn't do it, who's going to be out in the forefront talking about this stuff? So, I mean, it's a lot of pressure on a 28-year-old kid or whatever, but you know, hopefully she'll you know, figure out how to handle herself a little bit better in some of these situations where they're trying to trap her. But to Will and the Jimmy Dore people, like, what really pisses me off, and a lot of other people, I mean, you guys don't say you're Democrats, but you understand how the game is being played. You understand that you don't hit a home run. You're not going to hit a home run and then the game's over. That's not how it works. So if AOC turns out to be a fraud, then we vote her out. Right. If she doesn't live up to what she says, we vote her out the next time. But we can't keep going back and forth between Dems, Republicans every 8 years or every other cycle. That's not how we get to the left.
Right.
We're just staying straight. So when you have to, so for Will, if Will's still listening, you have to think about it in terms of where do you want to go? What direction do you want to go? If you want to go to the left, you start with putting people that even quote unquote, even if they're lying, say they're on the left, and then ostracize them if they're phonies or fakes, and put somebody to the left of them. But if we keep on going back and forth between left and right, we're not going to get anywhere. So what she's doing is playing the game. Like you said earlier, she can't pick a fight with Cuomo. He's the governor of New York, one of the most important states in the country. How stupid would it be for her to pick a fight with Cuomo? She's not even elected yet.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
what we were saying.
Exactly what we were saying.
It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
She has no leverage right now. It would just be a bad strategy for her to actually get on national airwaves and be like, just ripping Andrew Cuomo a new one just after he won by 31 percentage points. The people spoke. They said, no, not right now, Cynthia Nixon. We still believe in Andrew Cuomo. At that moment, Andrew Cuomo has the mic.
But even with Cynthia Nixon, even though she got stomped on, I mean, the voter turnout, I think it was one of the highest voter turnouts ever.
Right.
So even she was able to still get people out to vote. So she was even able to resonate with a larger amount of people than before. So that still pushes the ball left.
No doubt.
So like, I don't understand like the Wills and the Jimmy Dores of the world that they're like waiting for a messiah. Jimmy Dore in his, that side or whatever. I don't want to say that side, but I mean, you had 2 years. You had 2 years. You said it was going to be a revolution. Where's your candidates? Where's your party? You had 2 years.
Yeah.
And
For
nothing.
me, it feels like
So
it feels like. Go ahead. No, keep going.
So I was gonna say, like, they almost pigeonholed themselves into this position where they have to always be outraged, like, because what they November 9th, whatever, 2016, what they wanted to see come to fruition hasn't come yet. So they still have to, like, they're still stuck. They have to play this outrage mode. I have to, every time AOC farts, I gotta make a 10-minute video about her farting, and it's like, you had 10 years, bro. Just what you wanted didn't work. It's not happening. So if we want to move to the left, we have to move to the left via voting.
Yeah.
And push people to the left.
It feels like, I guess, people in that Jimmy Dore vein that have this very disparaging view of the Democratic Party. And actually, I can't just leave it at that, because we have a disparaging view of the Democratic Party.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
But it's to the point where anything that the Democratic Party does is bad simply because it's the Democratic Party. It's like Jimmy Dore, he wants a candidate. If you run as a Democrat, you have to be willing to be fiercely progressive, say all the progressive things, attack every single centrist and establishment member of the Democratic Party, and that is worth more than actually getting elected. Like, all of that, I guess that surface integrity, all of that is worth more. Even if you lose, that's worth more than you actually getting a seat in Congress and trying to institute some change.
It's almost like he's expecting. It's almost like he's expecting, like, the campaign of a progressive to kind of line up with the format of his show.
Yeah. That's what he expects out of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But that is a losing strategy, and we see that all the time. Those candidates lose regularly. So that's worth more? Like, that's better? That's a better strategy than to play
and then we get stuck with
part of the game that you have to?
But even like in Jimmy Dore's vein, and even Will, I don't think he understands, like, the strategy, because he pointed to Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn has people behind him, in elected officials behind him. He has the clout to go out and say what he does. He has people that have legislative powers behind him to go say what he does. So that's why he can be Jeremy Corbyn. We need to put people. I mean, AOC is going to be one of, like, 500 House of Representatives. Her power isn't as big as, she's not fucking president of the United States. She's not even running for that. But the more AOCs that we have in there, the better chances of a Jeremy Corbyn stepping up saying, you fuck with me, you gotta fuck with all these people, because they're all with me too.
Because you
can't just be running.
The goal is to make the Democratic Party something that is more representative of the people. You got to get there somehow.
you can't just be one person. Yeah, you can't be one person taking on the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals. That's not how it works.
For real, dog.
Exactly.
For real, dog.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
NBA startup,
but that's all.
Taking on the Golden State Warriors.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
But Will, you need to think your strategy through more, bro. Yeah. That's all I have to say.
I feel exactly what you're saying, man. We appreciate you calling into the show, man.
All right, thanks.
All right, that's Jay. That's Jay. All right. So I think we got a few more minutes. I believe that Will is still here. I think we just got about 4 more minutes or so. We got 2 more minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, we only got 2. All right. So, Will, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. So, look, man, hey. Now, I just want to say, look, we obviously, Yeah, 2 minutes, 2-minute warning. Nah, but we have a different of opinion. That's fine. I mean, I'm not ever gonna call in to debate with you guys or anybody. Like I don't do that. I'm never gonna debate. I think I agree with having discussion. I think we should have if I call in, just so you know, it's gonna be to have a discussion, not a debate.
Right.
Because debates are about winning and trying to get people to agree with your point of view rather than finding the truth or facts. You know what I mean? But I mean, we obviously have a different opinion, but I just think that we should stand up for what's right regardless, not roll over because we feel like we're overmatched. I mean, doing the right thing doesn't always mean you're going to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
True that. And what kind of donut you talking about? Like you talking about like a donut? Because you tell people to sit on the donut. Like you talking about like one of those like cushions, or you talking about like an actual donut, like with frosting on it? Like actual frosting.
Do what?
You talking about like
a cushion with a hole cut out for their butt because it hurts.
It'd have been much funny if it was like actual like a chocolate icing donut or something. It'd have been much funnier, man. I was hoping it was like I was hoping it was like a glazed donut or like one of them with sprinkles on it that you were telling people to sit on. That would have been much fun. Man, I'm disappointed now, man. I thought it was like
something funnier.
Yeah, man, but that's okay though.
Well, whatever makes you feel better. But no, I mean, like I said, just get used to it, man. I mean, I think you're gonna be disappointed there, man. That's my opinion. Could be wrong. We could all be wrong.
We'll see, man. We don't have unconditional support of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or anybody else, man. We have hope in them. We believe that they have the ability to do some good things for this United States of America. If they don't, we'll be the first ones to call them out, no doubt. If she goes and enters Congress and she supports Nancy Pelosi for leadership of the House, that's not something that we can get behind. You're not going to see us coming up in here and making excuses for her. She actually has a position, and she's using that position for the betterment of the establishment. No. So we don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anything that has happened, this is just coming from me, I don't think anything that has happened so far suggests that she is really working for the establishment. She's not actually a progressive that actually wants to enact change, like actual change. So that's just coming from me. So,
I hope you're right.
Nobody knows at this point. Right. Yeah, I hope I'm right too, man. I hope I'm right too.
But I just like I said, I just think that it's important to stand for the right things too, and that may mean that you lose a position in government or something, but it can also do good because using your platform, and it's a big beast to try to fight. I understand that, and I guess you're arguing that to be tactful may be the best way, and maybe so, but I think it's pretty harmful to say what she said though about a guy like Cuomo. I mean, he's pretty bad in my opinion, but I understand where you're coming from too.
Yeah, man. So I think this is about to cut you off. So we appreciate you calling in, Will. We appreciate hearing your voice.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Yeah, it just cut him off too. Timed that really, really well. All right. So definitely appreciate all of our callers tonight. Will, Tony, Jay. We did have another caller, but they hung up before we were able to get to him. So hopefully we'll be able to get you on the show on Tuesday, whoever you were. Don't feel left out. I know it's a long wait sometimes, but we would definitely love to hear your voice and hear what you have to say. Another shout out to all of our contributors on tonight's program. That's Angie Roden and
Garcia. I think Jose
Garcia and Hugh Edwards. Thank you again. Shout out to all of our patrons on patreon.com as well. Shout out to everybody, man, and for everybody that stayed with us too, because like I said, we had some technical difficulties that weren't any fault of ours. That was on the YouTube side. at the beginning of the program. We couldn't do anything about it. It was just a server issue. Nothing we had ever seen before.
Yeah, we appreciate your patience.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
That was what 35 minutes.
35 minutes, man.
Yeah.
It seemed like an hour.
Because at the wrong time.
Yeah, it was at the wrong time.
But again, it kind of worked out for the better because we did have this lawnmower that was right here.
Outside the window.
Yeah, that would have...
Chopping up thick branches. Well, that was the part of the hedger or the weed whacker or whatever.
Either way, it was loud. It was noisy.
Chopping up branches,
it would have definitely interfered with the program. You definitely would have been able to hear it because it's right here. So anyway, it kind of worked out for the better. But I think that's all I got, man. You got anything this weekend? I don't know. Just like every other weekend.
Oh, this weekend, I know what's going.
What's going down this weekend, man?
The Greek festival.
Okay.
I think it's like 3 days.
I never go.
I might go this
I
year.
would like to though.
I went to the Latin festival. Yeah. I hadn't gone to that in years. So I finally went again this year. So I'm trying to get back into my festival going activities and just get out there. So yeah, I'll probably go to the Greek festival sometime this weekend.
I have to look into that, man. You said
it started today. It started today. Actually. Yeah. Today, Friday, Saturday. Might be Sunday. Yeah, I think Sunday too. I can't remember, but
I have to see if that could get on the itinerary, man. Trying to look at the remaining primaries. Actually, it's just one left. Yeah, Louisiana, and that's that's not a primary. Actually, it's on the same day as the general election. Yeah, so actually, we're done with the primary season. Okay, hadn't looked at this. So yeah, all right. So general election, like we said, it's less than 2 months away. Really, it's about a month and a half away now.
Dog.
So it's approaching.
It's
very
creeping.
Fast,
it's
man.
creeping, man.
Yeah.
It's creeping.
Soon we will know, man, what is going to happen in a lot of these races, governorships, Senate races, House of Representatives. Man, we're gonna be on for a long time. That's gonna be a long show. Hopefully we'll have, like I said, we'll have the new software up and running by then. Make some improvements. Like I said, I think there's no doubt that we have to get rid of the green screen and do something else.
Yeah, get an actual background.
Yeah, so we got to do that. We got some other improvements that we got to do.
Yeah, maybe we take some suggestions too.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, because really I have no idea what we would possibly want.
There's literally nothing floating around in my head right now.
The only thing is the logo.
Of course. Logo is that's not a question.
Yeah,
so,
but just repeated logos everywhere. You know, it's kind of lame.
That would be kind of lame. We just need one.
But see, it can't be dark either because sometimes that gets in the way with the lighting too. No, you know what? No, never mind. That doesn't because we won't have the green screen no more.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter if it's dark or light or anything. Yeah. That's correct. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure out.
Of course, L Train, but that's the first thing I thought of. But that went out because I know people do that a lot. I don't know. That might be a bit too busy, so I don't know.
What are you talking about?
He said a cityscape.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I think you thought about that one time too.
Yeah, but it sure enough did not look good on the green screen. Yeah. It was just it was way too fake. It looked, it would not have come off well at all. I'm trying to remember.
You have to you have to orient the picture in a perfect way to make it look like you're sitting right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For it to look even the slightest bit real.
It has to make it look like you're looking out the window of a studio.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like you know how they do it on CNN or MSNBC. Yeah. At least that looks real.
Yeah.
A lot of times that looks real. To the point where you're hold on, is that
their office has a nice view?
Yeah, that was really
nice view.
I don't think I can get it to look that nice. At least I don't think so. I'm not sure. But anyway, it won't work anyway because the green screen, like I said, that effect on this software doesn't seem like it's going to work very well. I believe Mooskow had a question for me earlier about, I don't even know if she's still here in the chat, but she did ask about...
If she ain't talking, she ain't here.
But she asked about... I have children. and she asked about like, do I talk to him about
I
the
remember
police?
that. I saw that question.
And no, I at this point, I don't believe I've had many conversations about the police with my children. They're still at a young age, so it's not really something that I've talked about. I've talked about certain things. I've talked about the history of this, of just this country, of the world, a little bit. I've talked about Thanksgiving. We even talked about the flag a little bit, the national anthem a little bit. I don't go too much in depth because right now, of course, their focus and just their brain right now, they're not really like taking that information in. It's not really meaning too much to them.
It's like comprehension. It's their comprehension is not going to be.
It's like if it's too thick, it's getting shoved right out the other ear. It's like, okay, can I watch some TV? All right, you done? All right, can I get my tablet? All right, good. There's some things, like I said, that we can delve with. Actually, I just had a conversation about safety because we were walking down. Well, it was not a street, but at the school, there's a place where cars can walk, cars can go by, and my daughter, she just crossed that area. I was giving her a little bit of freedom. She was running ahead of me, and I was like, okay, that's cool. But she just crossed it. Like I said, it wasn't a street. There were no cars coming, but she didn't look back to make sure that there was no car. So I had a very long talk with her about that. Very, very long talk. And I told her exactly, look, you can get dead. Straight up. I'm not trying to cute this thing up. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. No. You can get gone real quick if you don't protect yourself, if you're not cautious, all right? I don't want you to be scared about anything, but I definitely want you to, like, be protective of your own life because you only got but one of those, okay? So I know you want to keep living, all right? I know you want to still be here and family. I know you want to grow. You want to do certain things. Take care of yourself. Protect yourself, all right? Let me see that you have some level of responsibility to you.
You can't have fun unless you're alive.
Exactly. So like I said, I didn't. It's not that I was trying to scare her because like I said, I don't want her to be scared. But you need to know that even as a kid, like, look, there's certain things that you have to be very mature about. And it doesn't matter if you're a kid or not. Look, there's just certain things that you can't make a mistake about. You can't make a mistake because that can end up being your life right there. So like I said, I had a long conversation with her about that. So yeah, like I said, there's certain things that you can get serious with them about. Police, not so much, not yet. That's just not something that we have broached so far, not really. But yeah, that's all we got. Like to thank everybody that made it out for the show tonight, and we appreciate your consistent support. We'll be back on Tuesday. Hopefully feeling 100.
Oh, hopefully.
Hopefully feeling 100.
Hopefully.
My cheek was all like scraped up, man. Inside my mouth, man. Look, man. Tooth pain is.
Yeah, man. I'm like 2 breaths away from injured reserve. God, dog.
2 breaths away
from being on for real, man.
Oh man. But like I said,
I'm questionable.
Everybody.
If I was a fantasy player, I'd be questionable.
Like that consistent cue from week to week.
Cue, yeah, that's what I'll be right.
You got to check on game day to make sure he's gonna be in the lineup.
2 stars, 2 stars, and a cue.
All right, that's all we got for everybody. Make sure to join us on next week's broadcast, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I'm Will.
And I'm Mike.
My man, this is Let the Madness Begin. Everybody have a good night and a good weekend, all right? Peace out.